good. Keep digging. Stay in the gas. Hang on there, baby. Did not hit a thing. Why you wait so long, man? Bottom clear shaking you down here. White flag. Hit your mark. Let's go, boys! Woo! Yeah, boys! Well, they're all coming here, man. Thank you so much. Hell of a job, driver.
How's it going, NWP? We are back this week on Daily Talks. I am back after going and spending some good time at some friends of ours' wedding over the weekend. Great time out there around Bristol Motor Speedway area. But we're back. And guys, we're back in time for a national holiday. Are you guys aware of what today is? Eric, did you know about this?
I did not. What should we be celebrating?
We are here to celebrate Leif Erikson's Day. Hinga-dinga-ding.
It actually is Leif Erikson Day.
Okay.
Which, funny aside here, one of my coworkers when I was like 18 working in a grocery store, he was like, he always had trouble in the past with like relationships remembering when his anniversary was. He'd always forget, or he'd book the wrong day or whatever. Well, then he, got together with the girl that he still is with now, and their anniversary was Leif Erikson Day. So it would literally every time their anniversary came up, it'd just be happy anniversary.
And also we're celebrating the national week-long holiday of Vanderbilt beating Alabama. How about that? It was definitely a weekend of upsets in college football. My Vols took an L too. Everyone's taking L's these days. They are all the rage. Everyone's getting them these days. Get you one too. NASCAR.
My team didn't. My team didn't get an L this weekend.
Hey, they might. Your team is the one I think doesn't. Yours wants to be different. So I'm proud of you guys. But no, it was a weekend of upsets though in college football. It was a weekend of upsets for NASCAR, as what I call the most stereotypical upset winner in NASCAR. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. goes back to victory lane for his fourth win of his NASCAR Cup Series career, and this was also the fourth closest finish of the 2024 season, as he won this race by 0.006 seconds.
And it's only fourth, I guess, behind Larson, Buescher, the three wide at Atlanta, and Sieg Meyer.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. What a year.
Wow. What a year. The year of the photo finish. And can we call Ricky Stenhouse an underdog on super speedways at this point? This is 2 straight years with a super speedway win. And like Danny just said, it's his fourth super speedway win of his Cup Series career. Yes, he is overall an underdog, but at these super speedways now, he obviously knows how to handle business. Roush, JTG, old package, new package. I mean, Ricky Stenhouse, if he's not causing the wrecks, he's in front of them and winning races.
And how many second place finishes has he had? I know he had a really close second place finish with Blaney 2 times, I think, at least once.
I can think of at least one. You might be right. It might have been 2. It was around that 2019, 2020 stretch. He had a couple of very close finishes. I know one, I can picture the one at Talladega. I think he was in the NOS Energy car. So, I mean, I guess we shouldn't be shocked. This is 3 non-playoff winners in 5 playoff races. They're outnumbering. They're beating the playoff field. The playoff field is on the ropes. But no, big weekend at Talladega. A lot of upset winners. And Oldsmobile made it to victory lane in the year 2024. We'll get to that.
Oldsmobile truck. Who would have ever seen that one coming? By the way, we don't have a light goal tonight. As in my absence, I was told you guys hit the preset light goal for me, so I don't necessarily need to. Oh, that is so weird. I'm just saying Urban Alvarado gifted 1 membership, and it was gifted to himself. That is interesting. Okay.
Wait, how did he do that? Wait, how did that? I think it's literally random. So how does that even happen?
Task failed successfully.
Happy birthday
like, oh, crap,
to
I gifted
me.
myself a membership.
Happy birthday to me.
How did that happen?
Happy birthday
Didn't
to me.
Didn't Eric get gifted a membership on one of our channels one time?
I did. Sometime I got gifted. I got tagged. I think it's super random. So what are the odds of the nearly 300 people watching?
It's like, no, I'm not gonna join. I'm gonna gift one to somebody. Oh crap, there I am.
Snappy says the Obama medal award meme. Giving a medal to himself.
As I was saying, I'm
Michelle,
not gonna.
I gifted myself a membership.
I'm not going to have to gaslight you guys, but I still am going to gaslight you because you should still like that. There's 260 watching. Still hit it up there
We
and
we should do
have a fun time.
we should do a thing if they hit the like goal the rest of the year. We just make it permanent next year.
Ooh,
Like give them
I
a
like
real
that.
challenge, like
There's
through the
what?
last 5 weeks.
Yeah, I was gonna say we got like 5 or 6 shows left. So if y'all can go five for five, 6 for 6, then the light goal disappears. Poof.
Hmm?
Just like that.
Poof.
Never to be gaslit again.
Poof.
That's a challenge, chat. That is a challenge.
Yeah.
And then it's just
Everyone's
hitting them.
it got their attention. Like, wait, what? Permanent?
The charters may never be permanent, but the elimination of the light goal could be.
Jim
Sorry,
France comes in. No, it's not.
Yeah, Jim France bursts down the door. The light goal must
If we're
must be
sticking
fought
with
for.
we're sticking with the meme format here. Jim France is like the big bird meme in the doorway.
Yeah.
Jim, I don't want to keep gaslighting next year.
Well, I guess we should talk about Ricky Stenhouse
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
Talladega.
How about the big chunk in his door?
Chunky.
Foam gate.
It's gonna be one cool looking race win diecast from Lionel, I imagine.
That's a good point actually. Good
I'll-
decal.
I like though that Denny Hamlin pointed out that like if by the letter of the law, seeing how that's like the word of the sentence of the week that the NASCAR is using for everything they justify, by the letter of the law, he probably should have been penalized and come down pit road in some way to repair it.
Yeah, no, he probably should have been. You'd hate to lose a race that way. But yes, per the rules, as it's understood, if you're missing door foam, pieces of door foam, you have that kind of damage, you are supposed to come down pit road to repair it before you're allowed to continue. What was, I think, the more concerning fact was when someone mentioned to Elton Sawyer post race, hey, what about the lack of door foam on Stenhouse's car? Apparently, he acted like that was the first he'd heard of it, which maybe he'd seen it and just didn't have a good, defense ready to counter, or maybe he hadn't seen it. And if NASCAR race control didn't see it, that's a concern because I know they had a huge crash, 25, 28, 27, whatever cars damaged. Like they had a lot to look over there. I understand they were probably overwhelmed, but the leader of the race with significant left side damage needs to be scrutinized. Like they can't miss that. Whether you make the call or not, that's on you, but you got to at least be aware of what's happening to the leader of the race.
That's a huge risk if they wreck again. They didn't, but that's a huge risk.
Yeah,
and it's funny is they like I think it was either Letarte or Burton. Like they pointed it out on the broadcast, like, oh, and there's a big chunk out of the door of Ricky Stenhouse.
Yeah.
And then nothing. It was just like silence for a second. And then anyway.
Without them really getting into it at first glance, I thought it was just like a rub or something on his door, and then I realized, oh, that's a chunk.
Yeah, it is. Because I'm used to like the door foam. I don't know if the next gen car it's different, but back in the day it was like blue, and it looked like it was all kind of black or dark gray. It was a lot harder, to Danny's point, to see what was just like donut versus what was actually, oh, there's like real interior damage there that probably needs to be looked at. So I can make some excuses for NASCAR, but at the end of the day, they do need to get better. I don't want to see them make that call in that moment, but if the rules are black and white, then they have to. It is what it is. It would have sucked for Ricky if they had made that call, but I mean, I don't know. I guess they were in some ways being consistent. Like by the letter of the law, Ryan Blaney should have not won the All-Star race 2 years ago, but they let that slide. So I don't know. Denny Hamlin kind of said it best. Letter of the law, he should be penalized or should be forced to come down, but sometimes common sense maybe should prevail. I don't know if that's the right answer because I understand the door foam is there for safety. That's a tough call.
I'll put it like this: like there's so many times safety wise you're looking, and it's like they have cars out there, even with the DVP, that no way would match the safety standard. Like I'm pretty sure if a bunch of the car in the back is missing, and then they like just ass pack it in the wall going 180 at Michigan, I'm pretty sure that car is going to crumple up and hit and give a lot more force to the driver than if it didn't have that kind of crumple zone with it. Like when there's just an entire back bumper and some of the side missing. So it's like, I really don't think it was that big a deal. I think that NASCAR probably looked at it and thought, nah, it's not that big a deal. And then there's Denny, who's just like pissed at the world right now and just like, ah!
Well, then there was, I don't know if it's on our itinerary, but we can mention it real quick. The roof rails missing from the 2 RFK cars. I haven't dove into this too
It's on
greatly,
the thumbnail.
But yeah, it is on the thumbnail. There you go.
Or I'll flash it on the screen really quick. You can see
Yeah,
it
it
right
definitely
there.
appears at some point in the race, part of those new extended roof rails broke off of suspiciously the two RFK cars. Like, I get damage happens during the race, stuff happens, but if pieces are breaking off the same team's organization, that tells me they were either installed improperly, or teams in the past have intentionally applied parts, have intentionally tried to get parts to break. They like parts are supposed to break over the course of a race. That's done on purpose. So again, no penalty. Probably should have been. I don't know, but
I guess
yeah.
if they were there before the race started, they technically can't say much.
Well,
Well,
but they
they could
can't,
be
because in the
in.
past, when like crew members would body slam the door to like flare out the
Well, the
side
roof.
skirts,
The like
y-
under green, the roof looks fine right before the race back in like 2018 with like Harvick's car, and then it
oh, but
indented in
yeah, then
during the
because
race.
screws were loose, it
Yeah,
warped yeah. So I think just because it passes pre-race doesn't mean it should automatically pass post-race. But yeah, it is, Dale Jr. and Junior Motorsports appealed the Sam Mayer Xfinity penalty we'll talk about, and he claims it was damage during the race. The appeals panel said no. Car failed post race. Maybe they thought, hey, Junior Motorsports intentionally built the car to fail in that respect. I don't know, but it's tough. I do think there probably should have been at least an acknowledgement from NASCAR that two of your fastest cars were missing key aerodynamic pieces by the end of the race.
Jake in the chat here. Hey, Elton Sawyer, just fly in from Stupid Town.
Oh, dang.
You know
Harsh.
somebody's gonna make that meme and like tweet it after one of the races, and it's gonna go viral. You know somebody's going to. But I mean, you know, if you want to be real technical about it, since this was all put in place to stop the cars from flipping in an effort of safety, this is actually kind of a safety violation a little bit towards the way that it is, if it was done intentionally or not.
Yeah,
Obviously I'm being a little facetious with that, but I think that the way that they kind of called really the entire DVP, all of this stuff, and we'll talk about that in a bit, I feel like it was so sloppy. Like, what's the point of penalizing somebody who really wasn't involved in really too much of any of that with the Stenhouse deal, with the RFK deal? Like, they're being consistently inconsistent as
Hands
NASCAR
off.
does. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't hate the no calls, but I just feel they probably both should have been called. It's just, we saw a couple weeks ago at Kansas how strict they enforced the DVP with Josh Berry. That was overboard. And Elton Sawyer, I think, admitted after the race that that was probably too far. And so after being hyper strict a week ago, they overcompensated by being extremely team friendly, extremely hands off, to the point that teams literally had parts falling off their car or broken off their car that shouldn't be, and NASCAR looked the other way. Like, there needs to be a middle ground. I get that what happened to Barry was wrong. They admit that, but you can't have rules and not enforce them either. So there's got to be a middle ground that they strike for next year at least.
For me, and this, maybe it's just because I, didn't read the rules right. Maybe it's just my listening retention isn't great. Even as a diehard NASCAR fan, I don't even kind of know very well the actual rule, because NASCAR, if you look since 2017, continuously changes this policy, this rule, whatever you want to call it. I saw some people get pissed at me for calling it a rule. It's like, they constantly keep changing it. One, how are fans supposed to remember this? But two, if you keep changing it and doing little tweaks, and some people in the industry, from what it looked like, didn't even know NASCAR made like a little tweak through the week about it. It wasn't out there in any way. So it's like, I don't blame people that are getting either towed to the garage or towed to pit road for being pissed off. And you talk about that at the same time, they let teams, work while it was under caution. They were stopped, but a yellow light was on, but none of the cars were moved, and then they went back to red. And I'm pretty sure one of the cars that benefited, and we'll talk about him in a moment, is Alex Bowman. Got like a minute and a half worth of repair work just kind of gifted to him. So I just don't even know like where to start on fixing it, when I don't even really know what NASCAR's going to change it with at this point.
Like you said, it was sloppy all across the board. Allowing Briscoe and Elliott to get a push back to pit road when the policy has been, no, you go to the garage. Like, that was egregious. There were a ton of missteps, but I guess to tie this all together and kind of move on a little bit, if I'm going to give NASCAR any grace, it's because they did have to sort through the largest crash in Cup Series history. 28 cars piled in on the back straightaway.
I didn't even think it looked that big when I first saw it because it looked like a lot of cars were just spinning. There was a lot of cars getting damaged, but a lot of cars were just spinning around.
There was no like, we've seen crashes heading into turn 3 over there where like Brendan Gaughan goes flying and, Logano, I think, went flipping one year.
There was no like, wow, oh gosh. And
there was no focal point, when the 78 went flipping
I think I
that
saw
one year.
like,
Kenseth
I think I
flipped
saw
that
like
one year.
Logano hit the wall pretty hard on the inside. That was about the biggest one I saw. But like I remember seeing the 48 of Bowman. He didn't really hit anybody. He's just spinning around the entire time and then just drives out of it.
Christopher Bell was like in the center of it and like maybe got some door contact here and there, but basically drove through unscathed. Well, technically in the crash, that's still though.
To kind of finish the end of that initial one and then go to the crash itself. It really felt like NASCAR was sort of tinkering with the way the rules were enforced, or just flat out ignoring it for like 2 playoff guys, whereas others like last week Josh Berry didn't get that grace, and it's just
that's true.
Here's the thing: I don't blame the people involved in being pissed off or being confused, because NASCAR is the sole reason for this problem. They designed the car that acts like a giant fat beached whale every time the tires go flat or in the grass. That's on them. And it's I don't think the team should have to pay both monetarily as well as points wise for NASCAR's mistake, which it is.
Agreed.
I mean, NASCAR designed a car. Every car has flaws, but there are fundamental flaws of this car for oval racing in particular that they should have the ownership to meet up to and fix. That's my take on it. I think you either have to give way more grace across the board to these teams for the problems that they create until they fix it, or just fix the damn problem one way or another, even if that's completely redesigning parts of the car so that you don't have the same problem that we had in spring of 2022. Like this has been a problem we've had for 3 years, and I don't know what much more we can say about it than that. The 28 car crash, there was no focal point. But did anyone else see Daniel Hemrick just go in like, guns a-blazing, saying, rah, playing hero ball?
Someone on
I guess
Twitter
he saw a hole.
Someone on Twitter said, bro thinks he's Cole Trickle.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, he's like a running back.
You can drive through it.
Running back who sees a hole and then immediately closes up and he just, butt fumbles right into his offensive line. That was Hemrick.
Bro was Will Levis in NASCAR form.
I'm sorry. I applaud the any butt fumble reference ever.
You're welcome.
It was a full on derp moment if there was ever one for NASCAR. It reminded me of Jennifer Jo Cobb a couple years ago.
I'd have to rewatch the replay. Maybe there was a hole there, but I just remember thinking in real time, where is he going? Oh, yep, there it is.
There wasn't much of a hole. There was something, but it wasn't much.
I'm thinking of Jeff Gordon when he was talking to Brad Keselowski after Texas about a decade ago, and they had that little brawl.
You saw a hole?
You saw there was a hole. I left a hole. Like I'm just thinking of that.
We got to stop throwing the word hole around. Who knows who's watching what NASCAR TikTok.
There's going to be a NASCAR account.
Quit saying hole and quit saying he's coming hard.
Coming hard. Yep. And in the middle, right into a wall. He
sees a hole and he's coming hard.
Oh, no. The Daniel Hemrick story. Wow.
But I mean, look, that crash. I know a lot of people were upset at him. I know he's been in the middle of these before, but I really don't see anything too egregious with what Brad Keselowski did. I mean, you have to really to get people ahead with how kind of gridlocked they are. And I don't think necessarily this was a bad race, like a lot of people are saying. I had a lot of people getting mad at me for being positive about this race, which is really funny when you think about my track record. But you have to bump and kind of hit these guys so hard to move ahead, especially at the end of these races. We saw it in the spring finish at Talladega. We saw it during the race today. We saw it with Harrison Burton's win at Daytona. I really don't think he did anything wrong. I just think he was doing what he had to do. And I think that if NASCAR can figure out a way to kind of remedy this and improve upon the package, you'll probably see wrecks because of this, but it won't be, what I personally think was more of just kind of a racing deal.
Yeah, you can't put what am I trying to say? Keselowski was doing what he had to do. He was getting pushed by a line behind him. He had a big run on the two. I think the only thing I felt the need to point out is that Keselowski, more so than anyone else in the field, has spun people off his nose at super speedways the last 3 years. He's done it at least half a dozen times. And so I guess maybe it's unfair, but you can't get the benefit of the doubt, especially when the replay clearly shows he came across Cindric's bumper pretty significantly. Like he was nowhere close to hitting the two-car straight, square on. Some of that, it looked, after I did a video, I looked at it closer. I was like, the two came up a little, or it was moving a little, so it's not all in the six, but Keselowski was not even close to aligned, had a couple of seconds, I thought, to better align himself, didn't, and sliced across the two's bumper and caused the crash. So Keselowski's a great super speedway racer. We all know that. He's won at Talladega like 6 times. Like he's fantastic. But we've seen in the last 3 years, I named like 4 or 5 incidents earlier this week off the top of my head that he has been largely responsible for. And, you know, it's tough because like you're saying, Jarrett, he didn't have a whole lot of other options there. Maybe he does hit Cindric square and he still wrecks. Like that's also very possible.
That has happened in other races too, like this.
I know it was in the tri-oval, but that's kind of what happened to Blaney at the end of stage 2. I felt like he was hit pretty square, just in a bad spot on the track.
Yeah,
I hate to put all the blame on Keselowski, but I do. He doesn't deserve all the blame. No,
Yeah,
it wasn't egregious, but there was something. I didn't. You know, it's a common pattern, unfortunately, with Keselowski, which I think it's fair to point that out.
I'm going to be a Bowman homer, a Bomer, if you will. Even I don't think his
that's questionably close to another word, Danny.
I'm well aware.
You got a Bowman Bomer.
Oh no,
Bowman homer. Let's just keep it at that one.
All right,
but Bowman homer here. I don't think his bump was all that egregious. It's just this car, man. I mean, you know, look back. We used to have a car, the COT, where we had flat bumpers in the front and the rear, and you could just bump all you wanted to on that thing.
So I'll say this with the Bowman one quickly, because I think this one's less egregious, even though it looks, I think, worse. It was
a hard crash for the drive. Blaney's been head on into the wall too many times to count.
If that was Denny Hamlin crashing, nobody would have batted an eye about that.
Sure.
I want to say this first. Like, you could see, I think Bowman and I think behind him was Larson. Like they slowed down, trying not to hit him. Like you could tell.
I'm glad somebody else pointed that out. I felt like I was insane for saying, like, people are like, oh, he just drove through him, and I'm like, well, no, pretty clearly they slowed down. They tried to sort of catch him, if you will, and just it was the wrong spot on the track. That's the way I saw it.
And again, going back to the Keselowski one, I think that one of the most recognizable things about Brad Keselowski at these tracks, doesn't matter COT, doesn't matter nationwide back in the day cars, it doesn't matter Gen 6 now, is aggression. And you have to have different aggression with different types of drafting packages. And with this one, the aggression is bumping the ever-living hell out of the person in front of you. And I think that's more the common denominator of all of it, is like he's going to be the one to push the barrier on it. I mean, in the field, statistically, he's the best driver at Talladega. He's, I think, realized what he has to do with that, whether or not it's on the line or not. I think it is. I don't think it's over it though. Like, I think it might not have been the best push, but at the same time, there's 5 to go in regulation. Like you got to make that push no matter what. You slow down, that whole line slows down, and then it kind of turns into a 2014 to like 2016 plate race, where you're looking at the leader just going back and forth in each line,
and Chastain was trying his best to do that the entire race. He was doing as good as anyone else could there, I felt.
Well, and I kind of want to go talk for a moment about just the package in general, because I don't think it's perfect in any way. No. I think it's a lot better though. I saw a lot of people complaining about it, and then of course bringing up like 2 eras. And I love that now we have 2 eras we can go back on nostalgically for this. They brought back like the 2000.
Taylor Swift fans now? Eras?
We went so long without bringing her up.
I'm being paid by the NFL now.
That's why I said cha-ching. But YouTube algorithm just became our friend.
We got from like the 2000 Winston 500 to like the 2007, Pepsi 400, and then we have the Gen 6 giant ass spoiler package.
Wicker Bill.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, I think those are my 2 favorite ones ever. I did think there was more maneuverability in this race, though, than recent ones. I think the way it goes for me is Atlanta is the best one with this car because this car and track were designed in tandem with each other. Like the track at Atlanta is perfect for the next gen car. I think Daytona's a little bit better. And then Talladega is the one I think that needs the most work. I thought that the race in Daytona was a hell of a lot better than pretty much any Talladega race we've had so far. But there was a little more maneuverability, and it wasn't just when there was fuel saving. There were drivers who were able, once you got into about the top 10 to 12, make a few moves. It took a lot to get there, and you still needed people the whole time. You couldn't just make a move on your own with a good run. But I do feel like it's a move in the right direction, personally.
It wasn't terrible, and certainly the fuel saving 4 wide, pack was cool to watch. And even though they weren't going 100%, the driver sounded out of breath, sounded wore out, sounded exhausted, the amount of focus and precision that still took to do. But I mean, it was better maybe than some races, but it wasn't much better than we saw in the 2022 Daytona 500. Once they finally are going 100%, it's mostly a 2 wide pack, very hard to break that bubble of air up front and very hard to make moves by yourself. Even towards the end of the race, Chase Briscoe and all 3 of his Stewart-Haas teammates, plus I think 1 or 2 other cars, I think Michael McDowell was in the mix, a good car, were trying to get a third lane going, and they couldn't go anywhere. It's not even like they made up a couple of rows and then fell back. They couldn't even get side by side with the first guy. Like they weren't even close. They couldn't get anywhere trying to make a third lane. So that's the problem. For whatever reason, drivers all say it's a high drag package. I don't know what that means because the Wicker Bill is also a high drag package, but like, for whatever reason, you can't run a third lane at full speed in this car. And that does ultimately take away a lot of the options drivers have to try and move towards the front. So I don't know how you change it, but I would like to see some notable aero changes going into next year. I can't imagine it's anything too crazy significant. A different size spoiler. I don't know. Maybe it's the lack of skew in the car. I don't know what the reasoning is. I'm not smart enough, but we had such good super speedway racing 3 years ago that it's a shame. It's so the drivers have so much less in their control now than they did then.
I'm trying to think of like, other than of course visual differences, like what it would be. I do think that part of it probably does have to do a little with skew. Like, I mean, it might. You're opening up
That's
a
true.
Smaller hole in the air no matter which way you cut it. And at that point, like that's fundamentally how this car has been made. It has been made to be like that. Was one of their selling points, was that it's a symmetrical car. I mean, I think you can maybe try and add some of those aero factors that you had. I'm looking at like my next gen diecast and then like a Gen 6
thing
one.
Put the rail on the roof or on the windshield like they were going to, so you see what it does.
I mean, I'm even looking, because these diecasts, I saw RFK did this, so I can say with 97.1% certainty that I'm similar on it. It's like you have this car. I'm gonna use like look at the way the back of that car looks though, compared each side.
Ooh,
like,
curvy.
But what I'm saying is like what difference do you see for the most part? If you were to like cut this half and mirror each image each side, would it be pretty similar, right?
It looks pretty symmetrical. It's the word of the day.
And then I have a Gen 6 one right here. Look at this side compared to it. So I think that might be part of it. You got to skew the car a little bit. When the car's skewed a little bit, depending on, especially in the corners, you're probably opening up a bigger hole in the air. At least that's just my, high school diploma version of aerodynamics in any way. So I could be completely off base.
It's more just trial and error. It's like, okay, so what notable changes happened from the last car to this car? Big one is the lack of skew, is how symmetrical the cars. That is a big deal. It's a big aerodynamic deal. So it's not crazy to think that could be the problem. The thing is, can that be changed? Can they, for super speedways, put some of that skew back in the car? I don't know.
Do you know what it kind of reminds me of a little bit? A truck race. Trucks, kind of symmetrical, a little more symmetrical than...
That is like flat on each side.
Yeah, so that might... And I would say personally, I think the truck series for the longest time, like they'd have the flips, because obviously a truck is different than a car, but like I would say that racing-wise, it's truck series races have been a little more difficult to get a third line that's viable up there. Now, granted, it's also because they have drivers that, are an inch away from a flip into the grandstands half the time, but
amateur drafters.
Yeah, but I think it's like when you look at the way that the next gen car is. I mean, it's in so many ways designed differently than the last 3 generations of cars, going back into the 90s at that point. So it's like there's so many differences that you have to learn, and NASCAR gives them such a smaller box to work with too. Like, to me, the biggest thing they got to work on obviously is short track racing, but I think right up there is super speedway racing for 2 big reasons. One, I mean, everyone knows super speedway racing. Like, you ask some rando on the street about like NASCAR, they're going to be like, Talladega, baby, Daytona, and the big ass crash. But the other part of it is like, you need it to be the absolute best entertainment value possible, because it is your biggest race that sets the tone for the entirety of your season, and next year sets the entirety of a tone for a 7-year broadcast deal. So like, I would not be surprised, even though, like I said, I do think it was in the right direction. I'd give it probably a C+, B- grade if you're looking at it like on a letter grade side. I would not be surprised though if they have preseason testing in some form, and if they take big ass swings at the package to try and make it better, because it is going to mean that much more next year.
Yeah. I mean, the sport's biggest race, obviously Daytona 500, it needs to be a good product. You need to feel like the most talented drivers are bubbling their way to the front. And with the way the gridlock currently is, I don't always feel that way necessarily. This weekend, I would say, was the exception to Jarrett's point. You had Ricky Stenhouse Jr., who we know is a great super speedway driver up front. We had a bunch of Team
William
Penske
Byron.
cars.
He went from 33rd to 3rd in the first stage.
Most recent Daytona 500 winner. Like, that, you did have some good drafters up front towards the end, but that's not typically the case. So I was going to bring attention to it. Nobody in the chat has. Am I the only one hearing a slight buzz on Jarrett's end?
Again?
Is it just me? I know he's had this before, not on the air, though. I was just going to mention it.
Not hearing it, but I'm also not wearing my headphones, and I hear my wife running the washing machine to my left.
So he's got to drown it. It's not terrible, Jarrett, and nobody in the chat has mentioned it. So maybe I'm like part canine, and I'm picking up frequencies no other human can hear.
I'll stop breathing into it.
It's only something that 6 foot plus people can hear. So
everyone in the chat saying it's just me. Oh no, Jake says he hears it. Oh, thank God, I'm not crazy. Someone said the curse of John Candy is affecting Eric. Oh.
Did you ever find out who John Candy was? That was a little disappointing.
I found out on the air who John Candy was and what movies I'd seen him in. So I went through this week and I asked 4 people, 2 of them about our age, mid to late 20s, and 2 of them much older, 50s, 60s, if they knew who John Candy was. The 50 plus people knew immediately who he was. The 2 other people in their 20s, when I told them, oh, he was in this, he was in that, they're like, oh, that guy, did not know his name. So I felt like I was slightly vindicated. My generation, at least, is, name wise, it's sad. It's sad to see a great comedian of their time perhaps be forgotten by the younger generation, but it is what it is. It's what happens. So
you have to at least watch The Great Outdoors and watch him blast the bear's butt off.
Uncle Buck, when he uses the shovel with the pancake.
I felt vindicated. That's all I have to say. But
I'm
anyway.
disgraced. I'm not crazy with my generation though.
Yeah.
The only generation that I actually feel like I can have a normal conversation with and not feel ashamed of when I see them in the news is Gen X. That's literally it. I hate everybody else.
Which one's Gen X? I've already lost
my parents'
track.
Generation.
Oh, okay.
The ones that tell you how much they have a very big amount of care to tell you how much they don't care.
All right.
I know I'm going to piss somebody off with that one.
That's a generation that said, don't believe everything you see on the internet, yet they continue to share clearly AI-generated images as news.
Tough. Yeah.
I know we're going to piss some people off with that one.
I'm seeing it like every day, and I'm like, oh my gosh, because I play around with AI for the fun of it, and then I see people actually sharing it for sympathy likes on Facebook, and I'm like, come on.
Well, it's Facebook. I mean, I feel like when you log into Facebook, it just artificially adds 20 years to your life, and then you just fall for all that. But speaking for falling, on his own with this one, Daniel Suarez, what the hell was he doing?
Oh yeah, how have we gone this far without mentioning that bonehead move on like lap 12 or whatever it was?
He wants us to forget.
Did he just forget? Pull up the party bus again, Jarrett. Did he just forget that our Lord and Savior BJ McLeod was in the field? Did he just forget? How can we forget? I know he's not. I know they're not racing every day, but that 78 car makes some noise when he rolls into
That
Daytona
is
and
our
Talladega.
bus driver. You treat him with respect.
Yeah, that was. I don't know what he was doing there. Obviously, trying to be aggressive, trying to stay on the lead lap, playoff driver, and all that. But man, I like who did the spotter clear him? I doubt it.
No.
think
I
he
listened to it. The spotter's like up high. Lock it down.
Yep. Exactly. I don't know where he just got desperate, which I don't. That's just
don't
you can't
get
lose
it.
your cool in that moment.
I
Again, he's
really
frustrated
don't.
in that moment, but you can't lose your cool.
It's I'm sorry. I've seen guys come back from like 2-3 laps down because of the lucky dog rule, because of people crashing, because of just racing their way up there. And I get it. It's a little more difficult now, but his like reasoning based on what the broadcast said was he was worried he was going to lose the draft. Like, dude, it's lap 12 and it's a 3-4 wide pack opening up a giant ass hole in the air. And there's lines of cars behind you that will probably be able to pick you up because they don't want to be in the pack. Like, I do not get, I don't think watching a super speedway race 12 laps in, seen someone that desperate to self-clear. It's like he remembered his acting career and he was Danny Swervez.
Well, Danny Swervez mentioned there. Yeah, it was shocking. It was a desperation move that you just can't make heat of the moment. It's just way too risky and obviously bit him. Thankfully, he didn't bite anybody else. I was worried that he almost took out Byron and Reddick. That would have been really frustrating to have 3 playoff guys wrecked by one stupid move on lap 12.
Like Hunter Nixon in there trying his best impersonation of Kevin LePage.
Yeah, there you go.
On the plus side, speaking of William Byron, he's locked in as a result of another top 5 finish. He's the only playoff driver locked into the round of 8. Danny, do you want to look at the points?
Yeah, it's that time of year for William Byron where he sleeps all summer, and then this time comes around, he's like, "Wow, I'm here!"
Hibernation Byron, the hibernation station.
Yeah, I mean he advanced on points. Like he's good to go. And I'll say this, because we kind of talked about it, before we went live, how we kind of do like a stick a fork in them kind of thing or whatever, and contender, pretender. And I'm looking at the points here, and the Bell and Larson, I feel like
plus 57, plus 52.
You'd have to have
pretty darn safe for them too at the Roval.
I mean, 54 points is how many can be made up without a win. The only reason Bell hasn't locked in is because like if one of those bottom 4 wins, he has to beat Elliott.
And someone brought up a good point. I don't remember who said it, but the odds of anyone scoring like 58, 59, 60 points at the Roval are almost 0 because people flip stages and then it's hard to make up track position.
But the thing is like, so what's the most you can make up is like,
it's like 60 is the most you could make.
60 is the most you can have for a win, but then if you win, then that covers itself. But
I guess
points wise,
true, so.
55 is the most you can get.
Well, you could win.
You can win the stages, but if you finish second, that's the only way points even matter.
I thought you got like 30. So you're right. It's a
35 for second, and then 10 for each stage, and then 1 if you finish last or like 37th or 36th.
So then Bell is safe. Anyway, Bell's safe. Larson's probably safe.
Bell or Larson, in order for them to fall out, would need Logano, Suarez, Cindric, or Briscoe to win, and then to finish like the last 3 positions, have Hamlin, Bowman, Blaney, Reddick all finish well, and maybe like Elliott finish, I think like 10th or higher.
If Logano wins and Elliott finishes second, then okay, Bell can't like finish last. That's basically it.
And you have to add in all the stage points with it too. They're good. I feel confident about. Well, granted, Denny lost more than 30 points last year in this race, so I can't say I'm too confident, but I'm confident enough that he'll be fine. Bowman and Blaney, I have confidence in. It's that second column I'm looking at right now.
Well, Alex Bowman, I think, is going to be great at the Roval. He's never finished worse than 10th here, but he is plus 26.
Usually finishes in the top 5, I feel like.
That's not a safe margin, but I do feel good about Bowman. I feel pretty good about Blaney as long as he doesn't get caught up in someone else's lap 2 crash once again. That seems to be happening a lot to him, so let's not count anything out. Yes, Jared, I think Tyler Reddick at 7th and Elliott at 8th, plus 14 and plus 13th, obviously are in the danger zone. But what's so interesting to me is 2 years ago, if you'd asked me to predict the Charlotte Roval, I would tell you Tyler Reddick and Chase Elliott are going to finish 1-2. And still, that could still
Yeah.
happen today. They're
And
both very good road course
I think
racers.
if they get top, if all of these guys, which honestly for this race, the 8 that are in there, I feel all can do good here for the most part. I think Blaney and Hamlin could be the ones to slip up just a little bit, but hey, Blaney's got the
Agree.
first win here, so that's kind of ironic to say that. But I do feel like of these 8, those are the 8 that I could see easily finishing top 10. And if they do that, this 8 stays the same.
which one of these
Exactly.
4 jumps up to you? Because I mean, 13
man.
points I think is easy enough probably to make up, even 14 if Reddick has an issue or something. But the other 3, I get Suarez, Cindric, and Briscoe have shown promise at road courses before. Do any of them win? Like, it's an even year, so I'm gonna go with Logano personally, just because it's an even year and he's closest, and he manages to pull this out of his ass almost every even year.
He's closest. He doesn't stand out to me as being necessarily great at the road. I'm not looking at his stats right now, but it doesn't stand out to me. Cindric gives me the most hope, but he's 29 points in the hole. He'll have to be
Yeah.
second or first to have a chance.
I think just because he's only 13 points out and because he's a 2-time champion, Joey Logano probably has the best shot of this group, but is he the best road course racer of the group? I would say no. I think Suarez, Cindric, and Briscoe may have him beat. I actually like Daniel Suarez of this group. We just dunked on him for his boneheaded Talladega move, deservedly so, but it's a new week. I don't, none of these guys have great road course numbers recently. I should start there, but Trackhouse has found a little something in recent weeks, especially with Ross Chastain. I think he could be a real threat this weekend. Daniel Suarez has won a road course race before. Like, I wouldn't rule him out. He's only 20 points back. They could even be aggressive and go for stage points. Let's say he wins the first 2 stages because folks pit. Like, I'm just saying he could get that 20-point deficit down to single digits by stage 3. And if he can drive his way into the top 10, he might be in business. So I wouldn't rule out Daniel Suarez of that group.
Peter has a good point. Logano, 5 Roval top 10s in his career.
He was 5th, I think, last year. So like Logano's good. He doesn't have a top 10 on a road course this season, though I believe he did win the pole at Sonoma. So he's kind of a wild card. Again, of the group, he's probably the most likely to make his way in. Veteran, championship experience, all that stuff. But if we're just focused on who's the most likely to pop out a road course of that group, I would go Daniel Suarez.
I think the X factor is who adapts best to the new configuration layout.
That hairpin turn. See, Logano and Suarez can both be bowling balls when they need to be.
Joey Logano has proven multiple times, Indy Road Course and COTA, that he will go 5 wide when there is no room and knock everybody out to get ahead.
That's a good point.
My hot take is I'm actually not too concerned about the hairpin because I feel like they'll work themselves out for those straightaways enough that they'll be kind of more apart from each other when they get there.
They won't be on top of each other by then. That is true. It won't be like a restart.
I'm just worried of who in 15th thinks they can get to the top 5 in one corner. Like, who's going to make... there's going to be somebody. Chastain, Logano,
outside of Ross, it's probably Joey.
Carson
Stenhouse,
potentially.
Hocevar.
Yeah.
Like, let's underestimate the ability of some of these guys to be really stupid out there. Like, and don't get me wrong, that makes NASCAR fun. Like, we need more people to be stupid sometimes, but like not like Suarez stupid this past week, but just like bonsai stupid.
Stenhouse will pull an Alabama win last week and then just bonsai everybody first turn in there.
Someone just, of course, we got LaJoy's in there. It's like somebody's gonna do it, man. Somebody is gonna just Leroy Jenkins that thing straight into the hairpin.
I'll be really curious because like how tight will the field still be by then? I just don't think it will. I think you can get a couple of positions bonsaiing, but I don't think you're gonna be like it's not gonna be COTA restart turn 1 or Indy Road Course turn 1. I don't think it's gonna be quite that egregious. It'll be more if you have a close battle for the win late. That's an opportunity for a guy to ship it on someone and get a position. We'll see, but. Of that group, I think Logano and Suarez, I got my eye on them.
Well, I asked this for the playoff grid of those guys, like especially Byron, Bell, Larson. Byron, of course, he will, but Bell and Larson being plus 57, plus 52, they're probably going to lock in after the first stage more than likely, or basically be like, I think their strategy is going for the win.
Yeah, I think if I'm them, you go for the win because that's 5 playoff points for the next round when you'll really need them. I agree. I don't think they play the stage points. I think they short pit and go for the win.
And then if you're a guy like Denny Hamlin, Alex Bowman, or Ryan Blaney, you're just trying to hang in the top 10 the entire time, and you're probably going to be fine.
I think
If those guys are in the top 10 every stage and the end, they are perfectly fine. And just a side note, I told these guys I was going to talk a little bit about Bowman and his performance in the playoffs. I had him out in the round of 12. So I completely underestimated him, and he has proved me wrong. He has had consistently probably the best playoff run that I have seen of him since that 2020 season. And it's starting to remind me a little bit about that season, but the problem is, just like the 2020 season, he only had 1 win in the regular season, and I feel like that is going to come to bite him in the butt when he doesn't have enough playoff points and he is in a must-win situation if and when he makes it to the round of 8.
Alex Bowman's had a great playoff run. I was looking at my playoff picks round by round the other day, and I'm looking really freaking good right now, except for Alex Bowman. I had Bowman also out in the round of 12. I had Logano in instead, and so he's the only thorn in my side in terms of my predictions.
I could be wrong, but I think I did have Bowman in the round of 8 because I this round just sets up so well for him.
You might have. I almost did. I just wasn't sure I bought the consistent speed, but they brought it. I mean, they've been so good. The moment the clock turned playoffs.
My round of 8 is pretty good, except for the fact that I had Logano and Kozlowski in there.
So actually, let's see. I have mine here. And yeah, I mean, I was, let's see. I got 2 in the first round, correct? Yeah, I had the 48 out this round. Granted, I was way off in a couple of them, but I'm looking at all of our final 4s are still intact and can make it.
Roman numeral 3 in the chat brings up a good point. Hamlin's engine could blow up like Sonoma.
Oh boy.
Hey, I'm gonna say this. Ever since I made that prediction that we're gonna see 2 blown engines from JGR, they've been mighty fine.
Ship shape.
yeah. But I think that'll cover that. Danny.
Yeah, we'll talk Roval later in the show.
And we got some good news on the ratings front, at least for Cup.
It is some amazing news on that side of it. I'm blanking for a minute. I read this part, not Jarrett. So.
Yeah.
In terms of ratings, people's eyes, watching TV, fun times, this earned a 1.74 rating, 3.127 million viewers, and it is up 25% from the 2023 viewership of this race. It is that just a mistake there? Second part there, Jared? Or
we don't have to point it out.
Okay. I'm just making sure I'm not about to read something wrong.
It's up.
It is the most watched Talladega fall race since 2018. All races with no full screen commercials so far have overall been up 15% year over year. And this is the most watched playoff race since the 2022 season finale.
That's what a good stat, though, Jared. That Daytona Summer, Atlanta, Talladega, NBC said we're going to do no full screen commercials under green, and they've got double-digit ratings increases. I don't think that's the only reason, but it sure is a good argument in favor of a little less commercials. Fox.
I'll point this out. Please. If you were to extrapolate plus 15% over the whole year, it would be the most watched season in 6 years. If you were to extrapolate plus 25% over the full season, it would be the most watched season since around 2017-16, which is like,
since Dale Jr.
Dale Jr., Matt Kenseth, Carl Edwards, Jimmy Johnson.
No commercials, and we can get back to the Jimmy and Dale and Tony era.
I'm just saying that modern audiences hate commercial breaks, and modern audiences have no attention span for the most part.
There's no. I right now, if Jared, if you bored me right now, I'm on my phone. Oh my gosh, I'm on Twitter, literally as we speak. Took no time.
It's that easy.
So much on-demand content at all times. So you like. Guys, we got to be entertaining. We got 350 people watching right here. There's a lot of pressure on us.
Oh gosh, I gotta do something.
This would be a bad time. Point is, this would be a bad time for a full screen commercial break.
Or put us on cable.
I was laughing.
Yeah,
I was
this would be
hoping
a bad time if someone insert an ad right now.
that's what I was
Please
gonna say.
don't.
I kind of wanted Danny to insert an ad into this stream.
It took me a second, and then right when you said it, I was like, okay.
And then we could see how many of our viewers leave, and then we could add that to Jarrett's 15%. And it could continue. We could figure this
Yeah, I'm
out.
actually gonna watch the little. It shows you in the studio mode. It shows you like a little live chart of the numbers going up. I'm curious if it goes down. And I play that.
It
That'd
will.
be funny. Jarrett's like, please don't, Jesus, please.
Some people are saying it froze or lag. That probably means that they have ad blocker on, which means I don't get paid. Oh well.
Wait, did you
Anyway.
actually play an ad?
Yeah,
I did
Yeah.
insert ad.
and it went
Okay.
down about 30 viewers.
Wait, we did. Oh my God, we lost 30 viewers.
Uh-huh.
That's about 15%, right? No, that's about.
I gave them a commercial and they said, "No, I'm out. No Danny B ever. I hate this guy. I hate this show."
That's funny. All right, well, what about did we say Xfinity and truck ratings? Xfinity got 900,000 viewers.
No, we'll talk about that. Yeah, Xfinity got 917,000 views on the CW, which is impressive for a channel that supposedly no one can find. It doesn't exist for a lot of NASCAR fans now. Trucks had 343,000 on Friday, which being on a Friday, not many people are used to a truck race being that early on a Friday.
Terrible time slot.
Yeah, so that number is what it is.
Did they even bother to show up to the booth for that race? I don't even remember.
No, they did not. They were in the
Shocker.
studio. I'm
Yeah.
showing them. I'm showing that.
Shocker.
Yep.
7 more years. 7
Um,
more years.
Something else you can look forward to for 7 more years is Jared's pole. He's
Pole?
got pole.
Paul?
Paul,
Paul?
somebody
Mine?
Paul?
Mine?
7 more years of pole.
Paul?
Dang, a little light on votes. I feel like only 11,000 votes for this one for a Talladega race. That seems very low.
Wow. Yeah.
But of that, 48% of you guys said this was a great race. 36% said it was good. 12% said average. 2% said below average, and 2% said bad. Meaning we had a net positivity of 84% and a 4% net negativity. Which
That's extremely positive.
yeah,
More
this is a
than
super
Gluck.
fair race. Most people enjoy that.
Gluck's poll, I think, was like 20% lower in positivity.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's interesting.
that's surprising.
It's Twitter. It's a cesspool. We don't.
I guess that's true. You got it. It's the Twitter. You have to pay the Twitter tax. Knocks it down 10% negativity.
So first comment was from Vermonter. So positive, negative meme.
Vermonter.
Vermonter.
That's
and
a new name, I
Talladega.
think. We'll go
I'm gonna-
positive.
Yeah, I'm gonna say positive. I think from Vermont they enjoyed this.
Typical Dega super speedway race. Can't make it back to the flag without wrecking. Also, hate that these races are in such a tight time slot. There's no room for error. Once again, no post race.
Nope, they hated it.
That was negative. Also, they did make it. I mean, other than the big one with 5 to go, I guess that's what they're talking about. But over the fact that we only had one overtime and there were no notable incidents, kind of surprised me.
Comments here. Timmy Wolf. This was one of the best super speedway races I've seen in a while. That four-wide racing was absolutely incredible. I think that's a Kyle Petty clone saying incredible.
That's incredible.
Nugget. Kyle Busch pulling out of line, hoping someone would come with him, and no one does, was the story of his season.
Someone needs to make an edit of that with like the Mr. Krabs world's smallest violin playing as he just falls to the back of the back.
What did he expect? I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
it was a
all
dumb
playoff
move.
guys behind him. Like none.
Yeah,
Everyone's like, why didn't they pull out? Like, oh, I don't know, because look where they're at right now. Like, of course they're not. They're like the moment incentivized them not to pull out in any way.
Mm-hmm.
The pullout game was atrocious at the end of that race.
Mm.
Pointless crap says LaJoy made it without flipping. I just kind of found that funny. The comment
Met the bar, I guess.
Well, I mean, if he did win, we were just gonna have a Tyler Reddick win. So
NASCAR shill says, thank you, Steve Phelps, Steve O'Donnell, and Ben Kennedy. What a great race. 2311 and Front Row Motorsports should take this moment to reflect on how terribly they've treated the France family.
dude, NASCAR Shill has been in full gimmick all this week, and I commend him for
He
it.
has been working overtime, double overtime to get to protect the France family.
It scares me how many morons on Twitter don't know that it's a parody.
Dude, it frightens me every time I look in his replies, and I'm like,
It reminds
oh
me
my
of that
gosh.
George Carlin skit. He's like,
Like-
think of it right now, how dumb the average American is. half of those Americans in the world, in the country, are dumber than that person.
We haven't met NASCAR Shill at a race, have we yet? None of us have.
No, but I would love to shake his hand or her hand.
If and when we meet NASCAR Shill, they need to just walk up to us and say, "I sure do love the France family, and I love NWP for promoting NASCAR."
There's
picturing like Steve O'Donnell. NASCAR Shill.
I don't know if it's the same person or another one, but there's a commenter on YouTube who comments under NASCAR Shill's comments called "Not Jim Francis Burner Account" that just seconds everything he says.
Here's what I really want to see is I want to see like a Steve O'Donnell or someone like an actual major NASCAR figurehead reply to one of our tweets only to realize, oops, forgot to switch over to the NASCAR Shill handle before I hit send.
It's gonna happen.
And out themselves. I think it'd be hilarious. I mean, it's probably just a fan, but I'd love to think that it's like
I like to think it's a host from Sirius XM. You know,
if they a certain one who's been around for a long time.
There's a lot of those.
Okay, one who has a more shilling type vibe. Everything he ever says.
There's a lot of those.
I kind of like the word shill. We don't really talk about that enough. It's kind of a fun word.
I just like every time, Danny, you have a descriptor, I'm just like, I can think of a lot of people in this industry that fit that.
Hey, not Jim Francis Burner Account is in the chat.
Hey,
yeah.
Noah Coleman says, how about this stat? Stenhouse is the first driver to have a win in all 4 traditional super speedway races to accomplish this, I should say, since Dale Jr. won the 2004 Daytona 500, because Jeff Gordon did so beforehand and then after. But the last driver to, for the first time, accomplish this was Dale Earnhardt Jr. 20 years ago.
That's crazy that like Keselowski hasn't. I mean, he doesn't have a Daytona 500 win, I guess.
Yeah.
What's Joey missing? Is he missing Summer Daytona maybe?
And Jimmy was one bad Brian Vickers push away from doing that in 2006. He actually,
that's pretty crazy.
If you think about Jimmy Johnson that year, he could have won 3 of the 4 super speedways because he won Daytona 500, Talladega. I don't remember where he was in the Pepsi 400. And then he should have, with Brian Vickers' push, got past Dale Jr. and won that Dega race.
Oh, if only Matt Kenseth had won the 2013 spring Talladega race, he would have all 4. But that was the one he and Carl got screwy and the front row guys took over. Oh, I was so frustrated after that race.
Jonathan here says, do you know the start-finish line is past the Trioval at Talladega? Big if true.
God, you know what? Okay. I meant to tweet this, but it was hard to put it into words. Every race I watched, at least once, the play-by-play announcers did that whole bit. Oh, and I think it was Phil Parsons at one point was stumbling over himself at the end of a stage to be like, oh, but remember that they're at the start finish line. Oh, and it's over. Congrats. And it was awful, terrible TV. Lee Diffie, maybe he did it in one of the stages. If he did, it was so smooth I didn't miss it. Was the only announcer to not say something on the final lap of the race this weekend about the start-finish line. Lee Diffie respects his audience, understands that they got it. They figured it out by now. They don't need
been a great prediction for us now looking back at that.
Paint the picture, and that's what he did.
I hate it because it's like every single commentary. It doesn't matter. Like Jamie Little could have been doing it. She would have done the same damn thing. Adam Alexander, Mike Joy does it now. Like he does it all the time, and then the color commentators have to have it. It's like NASCAR gives them a quota, and it's like, hey, just remember you need to point this out.
They think they're being helpful. I don't want to. They think they're being helpful, but it's like it's now like a pet peeve. I feel.
Okay. Like here's the thing: unless like I have to like hear the race because I'm blind. I'm watching on the screen. I see you for 188, sometimes more laps. Go past that same damn spot over and over. Like you don't have to point out it's in the Trioval anywhere else. You know why? These are eyes. I can see it. This is a visual medium. You don't just say it the pre-race. Be like, see, and we just went over the start-finish line on the straightaway. It's the one difference between it. Here's the story behind it for anyone who's new. Don't talk about it again. You know why? Because I watched the freaking race.
I want to see if anyone find me an example of Alan Bestwick doing this, where he's like, "Oh, when a reminder," or don't remember the stuff. He's probably done it
I
once,
think
but
he's done it.
if Alan Bestwick has never done it, that tells you all you need to know. That just is even further proof that you just don't need. You can show, not tell sometimes.
And I get you got to lay out the picture for new viewers, but for that's when you lay out some of the new, the lingo or something, something that is unique, not just for start finish line, but just something else unique about Talladega. Like for the love of God, there's so many things in the infield you could talk about. There's so many things you can't talk about in the infield, but there's so many things you could talk about in Talladega. It's you know what I haven't heard mentioned in years is that it was the curse of an Indian burial ground that. Come on. That's something you can add to it. I haven't heard that mentioned on a broadcast since 2010.
Bring it back, Talladega.
Something, just give me, and maybe have a rotation, every 5 years you kind of bring it up. There's that new batch of audience coming in or whatever. But
I don't hate them mentioning it. You just can't do it on the last lap, or especially like Phil Parsons did as they're coming to the line. That's too late. You missed your window. You should have let us know earlier.
I think this is the same thing in general, unless it's saying the word "come" during the race so many times, which maybe they should change. Yeah, what? Maybe they should change it a little bit to figure out a different word. But it's maybe if I can make a drinking game out of how many times you say something and get sloshed by the end of it and not be a lightweight, maybe we should tone it back a bit. Just saying.
Well, is that? Oh wait, are we in the gutter yet?
One more. Last one from Wizard King Nick, who probably should be in the gutter on this one. Entertaining, but super speedways are the worst kind of racing for me.
I mean, everyone's entitled to their opinion. I get it. It was my least favorite style of racing until my driver retired.
Well, yeah, I'll be honest. Until we got the really good package, I wasn't crazy about it either. The gutter here. First one's from Ron, who says, "I'd rather listen to Mike Joy."
Okay,
I think Lee Diffie's better than Mike Joy now in current form.
Right this second, yes, I would agree.
All time, Mike Joy's better.
Sure.
Dark Knight says 4 wide in stage 1 was good. The rest of the race was boring.
Correct. Cars boy 95.
First speedway races work. They take it easy and get a bunch of lanes at the start, and then they get tighter and get a little serious.
Wait, I know I'd hate to. I know we're coming up on the super chat stage break. I apologize, but Mikey just said that he won the Mullet Talladega contest. I think was this the person that we told people to cheer for last week?
Yeah.
Woo!
I gotta ask Mikey in the chat, and this is only because I was listening to Shrimp Hours earlier because I think Slap and them were in there. Anyone know who won the boob contest?
I was about to say something, but I can't say it over the air.
There's so many things about that I can say that I can't say over the air.
Who won?
I don't know. That's what I'm asking. They have this thing of wood, and they have cutouts, and women come up and see. That. It's just it is such a blast from the past in there.
That's okay.
I'm just saying. See, it's funny. You can tell who's been to the Talladega infield and who hasn't by the chat.
So I'm not. I don't. You say there's literally a cutout. These women just come up and just put
those stocks that they used to put
you put
in.
No, it's when you take those pictures at the pumpkin patch and you put your head in and you're a farmer or whatever. They have those for boobs at Talladega.
Cutout.
I'm serious. This is Talladega. You want an authentic Talladega infield stories that I can somewhat tell on the air. That's one of them.
All right.
See, this is NASCAR YouTubers. We could never make a video what happened to the Talladega infield. Nope, not for this website.
Sure you can. Just can't upload it on YouTube.
Nope.
Might be able to upload it on Twitter now. The bottom one's from Blaney Best saying, another boring fuel-saving race. Hendrick causes the big one again. I'm shocked.
Hendrick causes the big one. What?
They
made the Blaney one, sure, I guess, but the big one.
That's 2 cars. The big one was Brad.
Yeah, there was a big one in this race. Undisputed big one.
Jarrett and 5 points in Talladega. 5 would be fun. Now that 5's a bachelor, I'm sure he would be a really fun time to bring to the Talladega infield. Do we want to kind of roll through really quick the Xfinity? There ain't too much Xfinity truck stuff. The truck stuff we already talked about, the Oldsmobile winning.
Yeah, we can kind of die. I mean, the Xfinity race was just Sammy Smith going from 12th to 1st in points. We joked about upsets at the beginning of the show. That's an upset right there.
Yeah, Sammy Smith has just felt like not much in terms of JRM equipment this year. Is he coming back, or is he one of the drivers getting the boot next year? I don't know.
Sammy Smith, I think he'll be back.
Okay.
I think he is coming back. He's got that pilot flying J Money or whoever, whatever else is
Yeah,
attached to
that's
him.
true. Ever since Michael and that, they've been wanting to get that back somehow, some way.
Yeah. Good
Somehow,
for him though.
some way.
Good win.
And then, well, the other Sam is the one that had the biggest story today with Sam Mayer failing inspection and taking him from a pretty good position to a not so good position in the grid. I'll pop that up on the screen really quick. So there's a grid. I see this thing with the Xfinity one. I feel confident points wise about a lot of them, but Shane Van Gisbergen's -10, and I said last week if he's within 15 to 20. I feel confident about him making it, whether he has to beat AJ Allmendinger or whether he has to beat Riley Herbst after a bad run or something. Like, I feel confident about Shane Van Gisbergen, points-wise or winning-wise, going out and making it to the next round.
Is this where Justin Allgaier shows that he's the Denny Hamlin of the Xfinity Series?
-7. Didn't one of us pick him for our championship pick in Xfinity?
Allgaier?
Yeah.
I had him, yeah. And it's not looking great.
Is this a cutoff race for them too? I'm just trying to make sure.
Yes. Yeah, they match Cup the rest of the year.
Okay.
It's the Trucks that's on a month sabbatical right now.
Yeah.
I think it's a dumb question to ask, like, which one are you most confident could make it to the next round from back there? But I do want to ask, which one do you think are your least confident about like 3rd through 8th? Because really the top two are going to go.
I think the Xfinity race is going to be the most interesting race this year. One, because the car race as well. It's going to be the most interesting race of the weekend, I should say. It's a better car for road courses, obviously. But you have AJ Allmendinger and SVG on the bubble, desperate for a win. But then you also have Parker Kligerman, good road course racer. You have Sam Mayer, who's won, 3 or 4 road courses in the last year. Justin Allgaier's no slouch and is a potential championship contender. Like, the 4 guys below the cut line all have top 5 potential this week, which is going to be really fun to watch. Ahead of them, I look at Riley Herbst and say he's not safe. Maybe even a Jesse Love. He's a rookie. He's been good this year, but inexperienced. We'll see. But I think it's going to be AJ versus SVG potentially for that final playoff transfer spot.
Points wise, I'd say AJ's difficult because it's like if he has like struggling in the stages and doesn't win, I guess, but I do think he's going to surpass Jesse Love, Riley Herbst. I think, to me, the real battle really is the guys, I think, between 3rd and 7th in the points, because AJ could win, SVG could get a lot of points and beat one of them, and it happens every year, both series. One of those guys that's above the cut line goes out early. We saw it with Denny Hamlin last year, but he was far enough ahead. He was safe in the Cup Series. Like, it happens each year. And that's my question, is like, who's it going to happen to this time? Because I feel like it'll happen to somebody. I think short track and road course racing, I look forward to Xfinity more than any other race, though. But yeah, I think that about covers that, other than JRM having a full-on implosion outside of Sammy Smith.
They've done that at some super speedways in the past few years.
Yeah, this year I think didn't they?
Even this year, I remember there's a Daytona race I think 2 years ago where they were like lined up behind, maybe it was Austin Hill, and they like all failed. And like, I don't remember. I think they all crashed or something. It was like really bad. Yeah, I don't know how that happened. So
Dale Jr. is like, oh, for the love of God, guys.
He's like, if you just put me behind the wheel of one of those
Amy,
cars,
just one.
I'll take. He may not literally, but like, if it was me behind the wheel, I would take y'all to the promised land. It would be,
everyone gets one, Peter.
Moving on into the, I guess, the truck race where Grant Enfinger locks into the Final Four in his Oldsmobile truck, and
I can't get over that, man.
I just gotta say this for Grant. A lot of people doubted him going to this team this year, probably myself included, honestly. And the fact that he's got himself back into another chance to compete for another championship with this team is truly just impressive to the overall truck series driver that he is.
He is a gritty, hardworking racer who I know he's older. I think he's in his late 30s, but it's super cool to see him like still succeeding, whether it's with Thor Sport, whether it's here in the like it doesn't seem to matter the equipment. I mean, he's still in good equipment now, but like it doesn't seem to matter. He moves from team to team, sponsorship driven, all that stuff. He finds success. Like I am happy for him that he
And
had another good run.
and if you talk to him, like he just feels like, good old boy dirt racer. Like he just really comes across as, just a very likable guy.
Yeah.
I hope after the stuff last year, he's able to get on it, and maybe get that championship. I'm looking at I have the grid up here, and I get this won't be relevant for another couple of weeks with them having so much time off. But I mean, outside of Nick Sanchez, that Final Four that everyone kind of expected going in is looking pretty solid. Majeski's the only one that's kind of on the worry horse a little bit, only being +5, but +30 already for Eckes and Heim. Like that might be enough.
And
I thought Sanchez could make some noise, but that's a pretty big hole after Talladega. There's still time, but he's going to have to be perfect.
I really had higher hopes for Tyler Ankrum because he's teammates with Christian Eckes. They're both in great equipment. He just hasn't had enough this year compared to his teammate.
He started so quick the first couple of races and then just fell off a cliff. Like, because he was leading the points, wasn't he? Like after 3-4 races, like even after the super speedway stretch. And then he just like had some bad luck and he never was able to get that speed back. But we'll look at that probably again before the end of the month, I think.
Yeah. Real quick, before we move on to the super chat stage break, everyone's jaws, I should say, dropped. And some of y'all even snickered at me when I picked Ryan Reed to win the truck race last week. Boy was in the top 5 in the closing laps. Big crash at the end. He finishes 7th. Still the second best finisher of the entire panel plus chat.
I
felt like my Ryan Reed pick worked out okay. It worked out all right. He knocked the rust off pretty quick.
I wasn't here, but I wouldn't have laughed at that. That's a solid pick.
It's a thing. The two hosts didn't laugh. It was the chat.
Jared, your eyes got huge. If I recall, you even said, "I can't believe you did that."
I couldn't believe you did it. Like I give you credit, ballsy pick,
right,
but still, like
the chat for sure was, and I know they won the race with Enfinger, so I can't say anything. But also, y'all got to pick ahead. I would have picked Enfinger if I had the choice. So
I like
good run this week. I'm just saying.
I like
my Ryan Reed pick was better than a lot of people expected.
I like the chat's like talking mad trash about the pick points, and they haven't even seen it yet, and that's all I'm going to leave it at.
Yeah, we ain't going to say too much about that. With that being said, speaking of chat, I believe it's time for our first super chat stage break. Before we get started on this, though, I
said, "Woo!"
Oh, okay, sorry. I thought you doing something else.
I think I peeked out the mic a little.
But with that being said, before I actually get started into the super chat stage break, something that we've done this whole show without really saying much about it. If I see views seem a little bit lower, I got to understand we might have some people who live in Florida, and if you are down there, hope you guys are staying safe. With Hurricane Milton making landfall literally during the show. Hopefully, if you were near the west coast of Florida, you got out of there before this all went down. But keeping you all my thoughts and prayers personally. So
yeah, absolutely. Seeing the images of, I know it hit like close to Sarasota, Bradenton, just south of Tampa, for sure. If you're in that area
right now in the Tampa area, I saw
folks on the west side of Florida, central Florida. Absolutely.
I seen a video earlier in the show that said water had been sucked out of Tampa. And the first reply I saw was exactly true. When water sucks out, it's going to come back in even more. So
they were predicting like 10-foot plus storm surges. I don't know if it ever quite came to that, but still big storm. Hope everyone's prepared and wish everyone the best.
Around, I want to say about 1:30 today, my fiance was in here and her mom had called and she was on speaker, and I just kept hearing like this, like a slamming on the door. And like it kept going in and out, and that was literally just the wind. It wasn't even the rain yet. I was like, "Jeez!"
And I saw they were hit by tornadoes pretty much all day on the eastern side of Florida, especially.
So for anyone that's in Florida, that's in the middle of it, that might have reception right now, we're thinking of you. And for any of you that are watching back after the fact, when you get power back, or when you stop somewhere out of the state, because I know a lot of evacuating, we are thinking about you a lot, and we hope that the best comes out of everything and you can go back to normal quickly.
Yeah. With that being said, we'll get to the super chat stage break. So if you guys want
Woo!
to time me, I will start from there.
I got you.
All right, Bailey Riker, appreciate it, $2. Just simply saying, did you know the finish line isn't in the tri-oval? Have to start off with that.
Really?
Thank you, Bailey. Thank you.
Grant Toynton, that's a new name. Appreciate the $4.99. $5 is for 5 point if margin of victory of my Hogs against Danny's Vols. Woo
Oh
pick
no.
suey.
Oh man, that's petty. That's wow.
Hey,
Deep cut.
he paid me to say it. So congratulations to the Hogs. Woo pig suey, you are my swine daddy. So
How much do you need to pay for Dandy to yell "Roll Tide" on top of his lungs?
well, Bandy is their daddy, so they're also mine because I've seen Bandy beat Tennessee 3 times in person, so that sucks. He also said my hot take: 2 HMS cars make the championship 4. That's not so hot. I think that's kind of lukewarm, honestly.
Yeah, that's a room temperature take at this rate.
Urban Alvarado, thanks for gifting a Danny B Talks membership to Urban Alvarado. We appreciate that from earlier. Bailey Riker, appreciate that, $4.99. Watched the 07 Fall Dover race last night. Even then, they were talking about a softer tire and not being able to pass. So,
Did you see the clip from that race that went viral around NASCAR Twitter this week?
Oh, about the Soldier Boy.
Yeah, they went to commercial with Crank That Soldier Boy play, and I was like,
I think it was Slap said that like you people have no clue how big this song truly was.
It's everywhere.
Oh yeah.
I remember I was at a Waffle House in Richmond, and they played this on a loop with the staff just dancing behind the counter. It was great.
Wow.
VA Sensation, appreciate it, $4.99. When is Eric bringing back the Halloween gimmick from last year? I missed Easter eggs and Saw theme.
Ooh, that's a
you do have Halloween
good question.
decorations behind you.
I do have Halloween decorations. I assume they're talking about our iRacing event, Groovy Hollow. Yeah. Funny. You should bring that up. I have a few things on my desk right now. I literally cannot show you.
on air production meeting. We can go above and beyond if we want. We can just do a normal one, but like the Halloween week, should we just like dress up for Halloween that week?
Oh, we should do like costumes. Yeah,
just something
fun. Just something simple.
I'll show up as Homelander.
So I guess because Wednesday the 30th is we can do that.
That should be fun if we can get a little creative with it.
We'll see what we can do. Let's see here. Infield Ike, appreciate $1.99. Daytona Beach storm is soon closing in on us. Yeah, Infield Ike, be safe down there, man.
Yeah, for sure.
Blake Thiemann, appreciate $1.99. Chances Homestead gets affected by hurricane. Slim. It's not really affecting the most southern part of Florida, so they should.
It looks like it's gonna miss it.
Will Griffin, appreciate the $5. I'm a biased 2 hater, but in my opinion, blocking the 12 after green flag stops played a factor in him getting wrecked. Just glad a 2 and 22 wrecked out too.
By the way, it's about 3.5 minutes, give or take.
Okay, we'll end on two more. Palm Tree 82, appreciate the $10. Every other track, they're running qualifying laps in this race. Dega and Daytona. They are running MF qualifying laps in this race. Also, a question for Danny: what's your favorite steam engine?
That's a good question for Danny.
Norfolk and Western 611. Look it up.
Thomas the Tank Engine, #1. that's my vote.
They have a real version of that. I've seen it before. Hunter Nixon Fishing, appreciate it, $4.99, and we'll end a few from a Braves fan watching the Phillies get eliminated tonight made my night.
Oof.
I don't like Philadelphia sports, so I'm cool with that.
I'm not gonna totally leak everything, but I will give you guys this little hint right here.
Ooh,
hold on, it's actually Eric. Hold on,
let me. Bottom of the screen?
Yeah, let me remove this.
Oh my gosh, because of the thing, they don't see it.
Like he's like, I'm gonna show you this, and it's just like the top of a piece of paper.
He's showing you Mike Wazowski style.
I have to be very careful of how much of this I put in the frame, but yes.
Yeah. Okay, Tom Holland.
We do have something in the works for later this month. Should be a fun, spooky Halloween themed event as always. So stay tuned. Very soon we'll have more information.
Spooky, scary skeletons and shivers down your
spine. Why
that was a special treat to our loyal NWP viewers. I wasn't supposed to show anything about that yet.
Why is the only thing coming into my mind with Eric being like, I can't show you guys? that episode of SpongeBob where Patrick and SpongeBob are like, the map, go look at it, go see their eyes going everywhere. And it's like, is this just our board game?
See, I was thinking SpongeBob and Halloween, thinking, I've come for your pickle.
The super secret box that Patrick keeps from SpongeBob.
Yeah,
those seasons were goated.
But yeah, that is the Super Chat stage break. We'll get into the rest of those at the end of the show. We appreciate you guys. Actually, just what's going on. I'm not going to make a joke about
I will
this.
strike you down.
I started thinking about that. I'm not making a lightning round joke tonight.
Like, it's
guys.
been awfully
It's happening to me.
stormy tonight. Like, yeah, a little bit, I guess. Like you're like, I'm gonna be sensitive about this. I smite you. Struck you right in the chest.
Juxtaposition. Well, what do we have, Jared? What's going on?
Well, first off, we do have the NWP channel at MWP Clips. I struck down my voice into a flat note there, which we'll be uploading this episode and every episode. So if you miss it, you can always check that one. Plus maybe some off-season stuff. Who knows? Just saying. We do a Christmas special. It's a Wednesday. Jack Links will be replacing Geico as the sponsor for the Spring Dacre race next year, according to Adam Stern. And today and tomorrow, there are tire tests being conducted at Martinsville for the upcoming race. So, interesting
Very
stuff.
important.
Yeah, very. And then NASCAR, speaking of tests, this was the one that caught my eye and ear. NASCAR will conduct a wet weather tire test on October 28th at Homestead Miami Speedway the day after their playoff race. Hell yeah. And then, of course, on the bad side of it, the CW is now considering having a remote booth in the NASCAR studio that they've built starting next year for select, if not majority, of races. Do not like that.
That should be used for weekly content and true production work stuff. It should not be your central base for everything.
And then next week, we'll be on Eric's channel, October 16th at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Going to be a lot of fun on that one. And we're going to be joined by a friend here. Elliott Productions coming back to join us towards the end of the year here. And, heading into Las Vegas, I believe. Pretty good for Truex fans. Just saying. I think that's a better shot. So maybe we get to go on. Just saying. If Truex wins this week, that would be perfect going into next week. He's an avid Truex fan. But yes, that is the lightning round. I strike Danny down again.
Has Truex ever won the Roval? I know he almost did the very first time with.
I don't think so.
No, because I think it was like Blaney, Elliott, Larson,
Elliott,
Allmendinger,
and then
Elliott, maybe.
No, I think he's only won it twice, right? But
yeah,
it feels like he wins it a lot.
I'm sorry, that shot. Like, there's so many times where we'll criticize Chase Elliott needs to be out there active or make a big name for himself, personality, all that. That shot of him basically riding his car. Are you not entertained out of that burnout? Has to be one of the most badass shots we've seen in NASCAR in the last decade.
That was an I'm him moment.
It was, yeah. And I'm like, I want to see him do something like that after every win. Just one of those F you, I am the best one out here, and there's nothing you can do about it. And the crowd going freaking wild. That was so damn cool. If he wins this week, I hope he does that. There was a little talk, by the way, because wasn't really. I personally, Eric, I know there's some stuff that broke today. You can probably break down. There was a little talk about the back and forth with NASCAR and 2311.
Sure. We can touch on this real quick, I guess, before we get into our prediction segment. Been a pretty slow news week. I mean, we briefly mentioned it earlier. Sam Mayer lost his appeal, so hit the DQ after Talladega stands. We talked about the points earlier. He's in a bad point spot going into the Roval, but the lawsuit stuff, I posted a video about it earlier this afternoon, and in that description, I posted a thread. Bob Pockris had basically posted screenshots of all these documents, all these letters between 2311 and Steve Phelps NASCAR. They went back and forth last month around the time, 2311 didn't sign the charter agreement, and basically 2311 argued their case. NASCAR, because we haven't gotten an official response from them yet about this lawsuit, this gives us a look into what NASCAR is thinking. You see a lot of NASCAR's defenses, if you will, on display in some of these letters. So I encourage y'all to read through all the documents. It's only like total, maybe like 10 or 15 pages worth of content, but it's definitely a lot of legal fluff and words you have to kind of weave your way through. I tried to put together like a 10-minute segment on my show that hits the highlights that I felt did a pretty good job. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. I didn't have any huge takeaways other than certainly once you finally hear NASCAR's side of things, it's like, oh, I think they both sides have an argument. Let me put it that way. Like up to this point, the last week, we've only really heard 2311 and Front Row's argument, and they're making a very compelling case. But then you hear some of NASCAR's rebuttals, and you're like, well, now maybe either one side's not telling the truth, or no, I get why they've hit a snag because both are making good points. It's hard to argue any further.
Well,
basically, NASCAR pushed back against the you argued in bad faith argument by saying just because we didn't agree doesn't mean we didn't like negotiate in good faith. That was a big thing. They did say in one of those letters that they reject the notion that they are a monopoly. And Phelps wrote at one point that their attorneys agree with them. So I don't know if that was, your typical veil, like, don't you sue us because our attorneys say we'll win. Who knows? But I don't know. I came away from it thinking if this gets to discovery, which it could sooner rather than later, that's probably bad news for NASCAR. Their best bet is that this gets shut down in the next few weeks. But we'll see.
I think one of the interesting things that Gluck and Bianchi talked about on Teardown was that the teams are going to get the majority of the money in the new deal. Like it's not.
Well, they're going to get the largest slice. So yeah.
Or the
NASCAR,
plurality, I guess. Yeah.
Yes, NASCAR admitted in their thing, they're like, we did make some concessions, including making you all the primary beneficiaries of the media revenue, which means they would get the largest percentage. They also note, though, in some of these letters that they couldn't approve the team's request. The teams wanted 45% of the media deal, nearly half, plus 33% of whatever new business ventures they were trying to work out. NASCAR couldn't give them that. So we know it's less than that, but more than the 25% they supposedly get now. So it's somewhere in between. Don't know the exact number, at least not yet. Well, maybe that'll come out at some point.
And I think
I thought that was interesting.
Well, and I think another thing was like that NASCAR was open to having like a team, like not it was like a council or how they put it, but like basically for rule changes and stuff to have the teams have a seat at the table. So it's like, I think what I gathered from it is that none of the teams really at any point from the way it all sounds really came in united. It wasn't even like they were united to begin with. They all just sort of came in with their own wants and demands. Yeah. And then you just had the loudest ones and maybe a couple following behind them with 2311 and maybe others. And you can't really get all the teams on board when some of them are okay with most of what NASCAR wants. Some of them are just wanting it to end, kind of like what Rick Hendricks said. Others, like Richard Childress this past week, are basically, all but we have a gun to our head and we need more time. And I have 400 people on payroll, stuff like that. Like nobody is giving the same story in any way when they talk about it.
The more I think about it, I think my takeaway from this was that it's not strictly about the money for the teams. Yes, there may be a crazy dollar amount that if NASCAR granted it to them, the teams would say, all right, fine, we're good. But it certainly sounds like they care more about control, stability, protecting their investments long-term. Like you mentioned, yes, NASCAR included something, I guess, called the Team Advisory Committee that supposedly would let them in on more of the rules and negotiate or governing process, but like it's very unofficial. I don't, that's not what the teams are looking for. I think the teams are concerned, especially with the next gen car and how NASCAR owns the intellectual property of the next gen car because they designed it and they've selected the vendors that the teams must pay to get all the parts and pieces. Like you could argue that's a conflict of interest more than anything. There's just no competition there because who's to stop these manufacturers from raising the prices? What happens if it gets too expensive? The teams can't go somewhere else. There's no other companies that they can go in and compete and buy parts from them. They have to buy from these NASCAR selected vendors. And I think that's what's put a strain on a lot of this. Not to mention the fact that NASCAR owns all the tracks. They own ARCA. Maybe you could argue they are a monopoly. I think more than anything, it's the teams are wary of future costs. And unless they have a true seat at the table, NASCAR and its vendors can kind of just dictate whatever they want. Oh, but we gave you more money. That sounds great in the short term, but if the prices get out of control at some point in the long term, the teams would probably rather have that control. I guess that was my takeaway, is that yes, it's obviously all about money at its core, but not just the media revenue. The teams want a larger seat at the table to protect against any major rule changes that would cost them a lot of money down the line. That was the vibe I got, which I don't know how you compromise on that. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. Maybe it gets to that point. We'll see. It's all hard to say.
And to be fair, because I think last week we were very big on the team side, and rightfully so. That's all we knew at the time, and they put up a bunch of good points and a bunch of stuff that we could talk about.
Yeah.
So I don't think that seeing the NASCAR side now like we have, and talking about that is necessarily too out there. I don't think we proved in any way we were supporting one side or the other, but with the NASCAR side, I want to play devil's advocate for some people out there, because I know there's a lot of them that are very much against the France family, except for NASCAR Shill. He's definitely not.
Salute you, NASCAR Shill.
Fighting the good fight. But I want to kind of put it from the NASCAR perspective here for a moment. Not that I agree, but just as devil's advocate. That the teams, especially like the Denny Hamlin front row sides, Michael Jordan, like they are asking for massive upheaval and change. Like in ways that is probably the biggest realignment, I'd say, since the 1970s modernization efforts of shortening the schedule, slimming it down, getting tracks that were, not able,
probably
stuff like that. I mean, that would be business-wise, that would be the biggest change probably in 50, 60 years in NASCAR. And
it might even be bigger in some ways.
But I think what you also have to think of is this TV deal was not negotiated probably with that big of a change, that far of a swing in mind. And you would see, I think you would see some major change. You'd probably see a lot of different divisions of different, whether it be tracks, NASCAR, whatever, slim down, cut down, whatever. If you remember, a lot of these races that NASCAR puts on, especially like Chicago Street Race, paid for a lot of ways by NASCAR. So I think that's probably a lot of NASCAR's thinking, is like they've been open to changes based on what they said with those letters, which are letters back and forth. And I'm going to take them at their word for now on that. They've been open to those, but you can only make so many changes before, you go from bend, don't break to snapped, and now you're trying to fix something that's a dam broken. That's at least my devil's advocate side of it. Again, not legal, not lawyer. Don't take legal advice from YouTubers.
It definitely reads like 2311 in front row and maybe a few other teams, though they won't say it publicly. It sounds like they want a total radical shift in the business. And so I don't blame NASCAR for being hesitant. Like, I don't blame NASCAR for pushing back and saying, whoa, you want what and how much and what? Like, but that's where I feel, and I think the teams would argue there should have been more compromise. And I don't know what's correct. I don't know what's well within NASCAR's rights and what isn't. Is there any validity to the argument that NASCAR is acting unfairly as a monopoly? I have no idea. I'm not wise enough to predict that. But to your point, Jared, I think you're exactly right. NASCAR says we've done things a certain way for many, many years, and you're wanting to completely upend 90% of that. We don't like that idea. Like, let's not do that. I can't blame them for thinking that way. I just hope there's a middle ground they can eventually meet on. Because at the same time, the way the France family has run things worked for many years.
Just doesn't nowadays.
You can't necessarily argue it's working nowadays. Not perfectly, at least. There's a lot of kinks in the machine right now.
I don't think you could argue it's worked at least in a positive light in any way, really, since probably the recession in '08. Like, that's like when the business model faltered. That's when a ton of teams had to merge to survive, had to shut down. I mean, long-lasting legacy teams. First one I'm thinking is like Morgan McClure around, that similar time frame and others. So it's like, it has not worked in a lot of ways. And the teams brought up a great point too, that like of the, 16 chartered teams or like 11 or whatever at that time have shut down or changed in some way or what. I don't know what the numbers were off the top of my head, but it has not worked. In that way, it does need changing.
Well, Larson's point at the track this weekend that NASCAR driver salaries are among the only athlete salaries in pro sports to go down the past decade, I think does speak to the fact that the sport's not as prosperous as it could be, certainly when compared to other sports that are run a more conventional way, not family owned, strong arm. So I think again, both sides make some valid arguments, valid claims. We'll just see where this goes.
Yeah,
I think that's where we can kind of leave it.
Maybe we can end off. What do you think of not Jim France's burner account saying the state of the sport is strong? Stop spreading lies. I love the burner meme accounts, man. Those are just funny as hell. But
Those are funny.
We can probably move on.
Yeah. Prediction segment, is that on deck?
Prediction poll.
Yeah, that sounds good. Is that a poll?
Poll. Well, here's what we got. So each host make up to 3 NASCAR, motorsports, or show-related predictions. We keep track each week of the right and wrong prediction answers, and keep predictions kind of concise, 2 to 3 years. We can fudge around with the rules. It's not the end of the world, end all, be all, but just concise enough that I can quantify it. Accountability, my end, pretty middle of the ground week, middle of the road. I said there would be a 13-plus car crash at least once during the Talladega weekend. I got it in trucks. Then I think it got amended to 12 at one point, but the 28 car won it for me.
Yeah.
I did say a Ford would win. I was 6 1,000ths of a second away from getting that one correct.
That's a tough one.
Eric.
How'd I do?
Rough week, buddy.
What?
You said Toyota would win 2 or more 2024 Speedway races on the super speedways. They won 1.
When the hell did I say that? Did I say that in
said
January?
You said that, yeah. I think the first episode we did this.
Wow. Why did it? Wow. Okay.
This is exposing season.
I bought into the hammerhead nose design, and that was a mistake.
And you also said from Indianapolis to Phoenix, Chevy would win fewer races than both Ford and Toyota individually. Chevy has won 5 of those. Ford, I think, or is it Toyota? One of them has won 1. Another's won 4. There's no way that both could win more through the last 5 races.
I see, yeah, because Ford, yeah, I guess you're right. Yeah.
You also said Ryan Preece. Now, this one could be proven wrong. I don't know necessarily if it was. I know somebody
I
quoted
couldn't find it. The TV quoted it a couple times, but I don't think they ever had. I never saw a Preece interview. But chat, if somebody can find one, link it in the chat right now. If somebody can find like a Twitter clip or a YouTube clip, please do. It saves me a point.
And
I couldn't see one.
And I'll amend it for next week.
Although I did not watch qualifying. That's when I was expecting it to happen, but I was busy. I did not watch qualifying. So
Danny had the best week of all of us. He said Hendrick Motorsports would have at least 2 cars in the top 5 for the Cup race. They did. Kyle Larson was one of them. I don't think any of us were expecting that would be one of the top 5 finishers. Said Colleague would not have a single car in the top 10 in the Xfinity race. You were close, man. AJ Allmendinger finished 11th as the best finishing Colleague car. The others crashed out. But you did say there'd also be 2 flips across the Talladega weekend. That was your lone prediction that was off.
A single one.
But you know what? I mean, pretty good week overall. So prediction percentage, what we're looking at, I'm still in the lead at 46.15, Eric at 34.57, and Danny at 29.41. The funny part is, and we talked about this before the show a little bit, Danny, is that like mine, I have a lot of long overarching ones for the season. So like for me, 65 predictions have come off the board and I have a pretty good percentage. But then like Eric has 81 that have come off the board so far this year, and Danny has 85. So like the end of the year after the finale is like the time of reckoning will come on my end. I have a feeling I'm going to regress to the mean a little bit.
The page is going to be really long after Phoenix.
I have a feeling for all of us, because we all have a lot of overarching ones, I have a feeling we're going to have to use multiple pages for all 3 of us.
No.
There's a lot I'm keeping an eye on. There's a couple like that me and Eric did about drivers' average finishes that like are still technically alive. Not the greatest. There's some that we did about wins and like how many wins each driver would get, and we all have those.
This year is gonna be great.
It's gonna be interesting. I'm very curious if I can keep it over 40% or not. I don't think I will though. At least when I was peeking through today. But I'll lead us off. We'll do 3 times around the room on this one. And I'll put this one as my prediction. There's some fast tracks coming up. Crazy things have happened at short tracks, but I am going to put the prediction of this. There will not be another full flip in 2024, period, top 3 series. I don't think we're going to have a flip.
Probably not. What should I start with? I'll start with this one. He's plus 30 thanks to the big one saving his ass at Talladega. I think he's going to get through to the round of 8, and those tracks shape up real nicely for Denny Hamlin. I think Hamlin makes the championship 4 this year. His steering's not going to snap on him like it did last year.
Danny, bless you.
Sorry, I had a cough coming up at the same time. By the way, I'm just realizing, Jared, I only have a handful of races left before you can statistically take out my Logano 4 wins because
3.
he has to get
You had 3.
get 3 more in 5 races. So only a few more races where you can.
He's had 2 wins. You said he'd get 3 or more this year.
Oh, wait, he has had 2 wins.
You could. There's one more. He just has to win one more race. So
it's an even year. Here we go.
Even year, right at the end, man.
Oh gosh. Okay. Actually, I wrote down on this page here. My first prediction. We're just gonna say it. Denny Hamlin will make the final 4.
Wait, I think Eric just did that
I just
one.
said that one.
Oh wait,
Danny.
you just took that one. Okay,
I just took that one. I'm sorry.
Sorry, I wasn't paying attention to yours because I already had that one written.
To the backups.
Screw it. Alex Bowman will make the final 4.
Okay, safe back. No, good backup.
All
Good.
right.
Very on brand.
I will put this one here. One way or another, DVP will be amended by Bowman Gray. They might not have to use it in Bowman Gray for the Clash,
okay.
but yeah, I think it will be amended, and there'll be a talking point heading into the season in some way.
Probably true. I'll go with this one next. They were in the news this week once again. More executive changes. Crew chief revolving door at Legacy Motor Club. I know I was high on them coming into this year. That was some misplaced enthusiasm. But what can I say? I like a lot of the pieces there. There's things I don't love, but it's Maury Gallagher. The dude built a championship caliber truck series team. Like, these are real racers. Jimmy Johnson's a real racer. I think Eric Jones, John Hunter are good drivers at the very least. This team is going to figure it out eventually. Next year, with a full year of Toyota work under their belt, I think Legacy will take a step forward. I'm doubling down on my Legacy confidence, though I'm gonna temper my expectations a bit. I think they're 30th and 34th in points right now. I believe at least one Legacy car will finish 23rd or better in points next year.
Interesting.
So this is a next year prediction. We're casting a long line, right? I don't know if makes sense.
My second prediction. It's the whole race. I just pivot to his name for that last one. I wrote down Alex Bowman will finish in the top 5 at the Roval. So
I think that's a fair one.
That's a good one.
I'll do my last one here. Cup will be back on the Charlotte Oval in 2026 for the fall race.
Okay,
we'll have 2 oval races again.
Okay, all right. My final prediction. This one, I believe in this one the least, but I'm going to throw it out there because it's fun, and we have a guest coming on next week who will like it. Martin Truex Jr. shown some better speed recently. Screw it. I think he wins a race before he goes out. I think he gets one, especially that next round with Las Vegas, Homestead. I think he's got a great shot. Truex wins one.
My last one. There will be 5 or less total cautions in the Cup race on Sunday, including stages.
Ooh, I like that prediction. Okay,
I have a feeling that prediction will be very much intact and then be challenged at the end. Like, I feel like
yeah.
like road course racing in general, it's very hit or miss. Either we get a lot of them or we don't get like many at all. So like, I'm very interested to see where that one goes. That one could be like a grand slam, no problem. Or like could be like, oh, we're great, 10 to go and 100 overtimes, which I hope there's not because I have somewhere I have to be at 6:30 that night. Yeah, that'll do it then. Which
cool.
That means, you know what that means, guys, because there was no light goal tonight.
Oh yeah, random driver.
It means we're not doing random driver. Okay, moving on. Thanks guys for coming out. Okay.
Oh. Yes, random driver of the week. So how'd you chat? Chat. I don't know, clown them like you do as usual, even when they get it right. You seem to clown them. I'm gonna be honest.
Get out of here, chat.
I threw away my I have who got each driver right at the bottom of our itinerary and like the list of drivers we've used. I accidentally threw out the list of how many. So I don't know outside of I think Danny won with Lee Petty 2 weeks ago. I don't remember who got how many of like the last 5. So we're gonna kind of have to just roll with that the rest of the year.
That's fine.
But I believe, I will double check, I believe Danny is leading 12-11 over Eric, right?
That is correct.
And I've got you guys 3 times.
Did you stump Eric last week?
No, we didn't do it last week.
Oh, you just didn't do it. Okay.
No,
Okay.
yeah, we didn't do it last week because it kind of be boring having just one person guess and me just be like, ha ha ha, you don't know it.
I would have been picking on me because I would have been making a fool of myself, and I would have nobody else to like absorb the blame.
The fly is back.
I saw that. It was a tiny fly, but I saw it.
I don't think it's like a normal fly. I think it's like a ladybug or something. All right, are you ready? Do you have the chat hidden? Chat,
Yep, chat.
I have
Yep.
you.
Chat is out of sight, out of mind. Sorry, folks.
They're already guessing. All right,
Have they gotten it yet?
No. They're falling off.
That's a hint.
I mean, there's a lot of people guessing Jackson Storm so far. Let's start this baby off. This random driver owns a holding company that transports human organs across this country.
Oh,
Great.
wait, I think I know this.
Are you shitting me?
Oh, what?
Oh, no, I don't. I've heard that. I swear I've heard this fun fact, though,
What?
recently. Who was that? All right, keep going. Never mind. I've heard that.
I was
fun
about
fact.
to say, I'm like,
somewhere
no.
I've
You're
heard
gonna
that.
hear something else. Gonna reassure it in no time. I guarantee it.
It'll be the quickest one ever. This random driver has raced for Billy, I think it's Baloo, not Billy Baloo, and Kyle Busch only.
Wait. There's a difference. I've only heard of Billy Baloo.
Yeah.
There's another one with a different spelling of the name, Ballew.
Okay, I've heard
That
of
is Billy Baloo, isn't it?
I think isn't that just
no?
the
The other
one?
one's like Balouh or GH or something. It's like weird spelling like that. It's a different one. I checked.
Okay.
This random driver has never raced in a Ford.
Okay.
This random driver raced Pontiacs for 2 years.
Did they race Oldsmobile trucks?
Good question. We'll have to check.
Damn, I'm so mad.
This random driver began their career in go-karts at the New Egypt Speedway.
New Egypt? Where's that at?
Is it next to Old Egypt?
I'm over here like that's probably in like Virginia or something.
It's like in Alabama or Mississippi or Mexico.
Yeah.
just the most random place.
Yeah.
This random driver actually has two cousins that are currently late model drivers.
Do they race at Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway?
I'd have to check.
Okay. All right.
This random driver is an avid Philadelphia Eagles fan.
Oh.
Wonder what their thoughts of Nick Sirianni are.
Hmm.
This random driver holds the record for the hardest recorded hit in a crash at the Martinsville Speedway.
That's an interesting record to hold. Like, do they have okay, never mind.
This random driver's uncle was, at one point, a modified driver.
Okay.
This random driver has 2 career IROC wins.
Oh, so they were good enough for that.
Yeah, okay. Has the chat gotten it yet?
Yeah.
Oh, is it like unanimous? Like they all figured out they're screaming at us?
Mostly. It's funny. I just got a notification on my Fitbit. I hit my calorie burning goal today of 3,000 already, and I'm like, hell yeah! And I still got to run.
3,000 calories burned. What have you been doing?
Working out, running.
Tell me that stat one more time about their Martinsville crash.
Hardest recorded hit in a crash at Martinsville Speedway in its history.
Was he wearing like one of those mouth guard G-force tracker doodads, gizmos the kids are talking about these days?
I did not look that far into it.
Okay,
I
right,
just
keep
saw
going,
it was
going.
a record.
So
And they never raced a Ford, right?
Never raced a Ford.
Heck, I'm just gonna say it, Martin Truex Jr.
Correct.
That is it.
I
How did you get that?
remember the Casey Kane crash. That's what came back to me.
What's the
that
Casey?
was it.
What crash? That was the
2011.
Martinsville crash.
2011.
It was
So frustrating.
so.
And then the
There's
fact that they didn't race a Ford, I was like, yeah, Truex never raced one.
Yeah. Wow. It got
I'm
fast.
trying to see what other ones
You
we
didn't
got.
save that for next week?
That would have been solved in the first 5
Good
if
point.
I saved it for next week.
Good point.
I specifically did it this week so I could mention it next week to get a rise out of him. I'm looking at some of the other ones that might be in here.
Wait, so tell me again about this organ thing. What?
Yeah, has a holding company. So this company he owns transports human organs to hospitals that donors give, and like when they pass, and for surgeries, stuff like that. So
I don't think that's who I thought. I did talk to Ryan Truex recently, and that did not come up. But I still swear that I've heard recently something about a driver's organ transportation business they own. I swear that's come up somewhere recently. I don't think I would have figured out it was Martin Truex Jr.
So
from that, at least.
Danny has taken a 13-11 lead on the year.
We've been so even all year. What is happening?
It's crazy.
Yeah, I just needed to hear that Martinsville one again, because like out of all the Martinsville crashes I can think of, that one, Truex and Kane, is the one I always think of.
So on some of the other ones here, actually this past weekend, this is what got me to want to do his. I was going to use this, is that actually he had a record for the longest amount of time between a first and fourth win of any Cup driver ever, was just broken this weekend by Ricky Stenhouse.
Ah,
yeah, because so there's that. If you remember, he won the last time they had halfway money prize in the Daytona 500 in 2012, won $200,000 bonus by leading the halfway lap in that race. He's made the playoffs 11 times. He's made it with two manufacturers, Chevrolet and Toyota, which I would have to go back, but I think he's one of the only drivers that's done that. Like Harvick's done it, I know, with Ford and Chevy. But I'm trying to think of like what other drivers have. It's a small list. So there's that. And he is the only driver whose championship season, the 2017 season, is the only driver whose championship season would have won the title in every other points format NASCAR has ever had. Which is why I say it is the most dominant season in NASCAR history, because it literally would have won under any points format. Latford, Chase.
Very well-rounded.
Even more than Larson's 2021. That was a pretty good season.
There were other ones where Denny Hamlin would have won under that format, or different ones, or like I think Chase Elliott would have won or something. It was a really weird thing that year. But yeah, so Martin Truex Jr. Good job, Danny.
Well played.
We salute you.
But it was a good, nod to our guest next week. So that's pretty good.
Yep. All right. Which I think leaves this weekend coming up.
Yep. This weekend, they do stay at home. They can sleep in their own beds this weekend, because they'll be racing at Charlotte Motor Speedway for the Roval. A lot of people wish that we'd be getting away from the Roval, but we've only changed the Roval to keep going there even longer. So here we go.
I'll tell you about a funny meme I saw after the show.
The Cup race name is the Bank of America Roval 500. It's a 109 lap race. Your stages are divided up between 25, 25, and 59 laps. The start time for this one is 2:00 p.m. Eastern Time. You can catch this race on NBC and the NBC Sports app, radio coverage on the Performance Racing Network, and Sirius XM. Weather for this weekend is looking really good for the Charlotte area. High of 83 degrees, sunny, and a 6% chance of rain. Your defending winner of this race is AJ Allmendinger. And as for the Xfinity Series race, this is the Drive for the Cure 250. This is a 67-lap race. Stages are broken up 20 laps, and 27 laps in the final stage. This race is scheduled to start at 4:00 p.m. Eastern Time. You can catch this on the CW with radio coverage on the Performance Racing Network and Sirius XM. Weather for that one also looking really good. High of 79 degrees, sunny, and a 6% chance of rain. Defending winner of this race hopes that he can become the winner again, Sam Mayer, because he's going to need that to get out of this hole he's found himself in. And as for the pick points, Eric, 12 total wins, is the leader with 472 points. Chat, you have 10 total wins, and you are 3 points back. Jarrett, with 11 total wins, is third, 16 points back, and not so far behind Jarrett. Me, with 8 total wins, I am 21 points back. You can still put a blanket over the top 4.
All
It's
right.
too close for comfort. Somebody mentioned it a few weeks ago, but I think it was you, Danny. The last place you want to be is only like 1 point ahead going into the final race, because then that's such a slim margin and the other people get to pick before you. So I need to pad my lead so that I'm protected against that by the time we
If
get
I
to
can gain just enough to be like fourth, 11 points back going into Phoenix, that would be an amazing place to be.
Yeah. This is gonna be a tough weekend for me too, because I feel like especially in Xfinity, there are like 2, maybe 3 clear picks, and then it's sort of the field after that. So I'm not in a great position. This is your chance, chat. This is your weekend. If you miss this weekend,
Then it's
good
just
luck.
a free for all the rest of
And
the
it's
way.
a free for all.
All right, Danny, what do you got? What's your Xfinity pick?
For the Xfinity Series, I'm going with SVG.
There's one.
Oh man, I thought you were gonna go with it's my number 2 pick, but I was wanting SVG bad, so I'll go with the guy who's really damn good here. I'll go AJ.
There's number 2. Okay, chat. Who are you gonna pick the third one? It's kind of, I guess, after the top 2, it's not exactly like obvious who to pick next.
We got to get in the cycle. They're still saying AJ and Shane. They can't have that one.
Yeah, that went away quick. All right, let's see who they got. Sam Mayer,
Seeing a lot of ones.
some 20s. Is it Almirola in the 20 this week?
Yeah, he's in the 20 the rest of the year.
I'm
A lot of ones. Some all guys.
Seeing
I think
some
it's
Justin,
Sam
but I think
Mayer.
it's majority ones. I'm going to give him Sam Mayer.
All right. Well, he was not in my top 4, so I will be okay with that. It's not a bad pick. He's obviously won at road courses before, but he's got a lot of pressure this week. Oh, man.
Pressure.
I don't know. Do I want to go with the wild card or do I pick the safer bet?
I don't know. What do you think is?
What's safer in this case?
I picked Sheldon Creed a few weeks ago, and he had his worst race in like 2 months. So I'm not picking Sheldon Creed. I will go with Cole Custer. Jared, are you okay?
Yeah,
You
I don't
seen
know if it
ghosts?
was something outside or if it was my dog making a noise. So
I went, was it me? I was doing like a Perry
no,
the
it wasn't. It
Platypus.
wasn't you. It was somewhere out there. I might check that really quick. Can I just
Oh,
give you
there
my
you are, Perry.
Perry the Platypus? Can I give you my dark horse and suck pick and then go check out what that was real quick?
Yeah.
And real quick, what was your Xfinity pick again, Eric? Sorry.
Custer.
Okay. My suck pick is Denny, and my dark horse, because he's actually kind of good here, is Bubba.
Oh,
be
okay.
right
Go
back.
check on that dog.
Yeah, I'll be
Danny,
right
who's
back.
your?
Yeah.
Let's just do them both back to back. Danny, who's your sucking dark horse?
My suck pick is Kyle Busch.
Oh,
My underdog, because it's his first Cup start. I don't remember if he ran an Xfinity race here. His first Cup start, though, is Carson Hocevar. I feel like this is probably something he's done a lot on iRacing and might translate well into once he gets out there. I don't know what he's going to finish, but I'd say if he finishes top 20, that'd be good for him.
Well, he was top 10 at Watkins Glen, right? So I like that
believe
pick a
so,
lot.
yeah.
I'll go with Ty Gibbs as my underdog because I think he could legitimately pull off the upset and win.
He was having a nightmare out there. The dog was.
Oh,
Oh, God.
that's
he
so
was-
sad.
Yeah. Oh, he'll be okay. And he
My
came up.
suck pick is going to be Brad. I know that's low hanging fruit. I'll take it. Chat, I know we kind of did this unusually, but a lot of them are agreeing with Hocevar. At least a couple people are agreeing Hocevar. One person said Justin Haley, so they like the Spire picks for underdog.
Yeah. What were you guys' picks so I can write them down?
My suck pick was Kyle Busch. My Cup underdog is Carson Hocevar.
Okay.
I had Gibbs as my underdog and Bad Brad as my suck pick.
Someone pointed out Kyle Busch has three straight top fives of the Roval, and I just will never forget him rage quitting this race. So,
And the chat has who?
We kind of did these out of order. I didn't think that we'd be tracking it that closely, so they're kind of all over the place.
That's a bad idea.
Yeah. Whoops, I didn't know you were gonna write them down. They're kind of all over the place.
I
Like
see
we
a-
legitimately didn't
I
organize
see
it.
a suck 6. So Brad sucks. Underdog 2. I see that. So there you go. 6 and 2.
Good one. They're trying to say Harrison Burton now. Too late. You missed your chance. So who's gonna win?
Yeah, who is gonna win?
I guess Danny goes first for this. Who's gonna win?
Christopher Bell.
Oh,
Hmm.
okay.
Well, you know, I'm in a weird position in my opinion, because I'm like, I can be taken out of the battle for the win. I can be, brought right back into it. But I kind of want to make sure I get points in a safe way, and I might leave some good ones on the table for you guys, but I also might get a good win out of this. So I've been high on this guy for a while. He's been showing a lot more speed at these tracks. I really like this pick. I'm going Alex Bowman.
I knew it. You was going with him.
He doesn't have the high end potential that a Bell, an Elliott, a
That was
Larson would
literally
have.
going to be my pick for that exact same rationale, but that's okay. I have some other
He
good
did
ones.
finally break through and win a road course race this year. That's my biggest reason I don't pick him for this one, because yes, he finishes good here, but he's never won here. He did win a road course race, so a unique road course.
His worst finish was like 8th, and like these races are so topsy turvy that I get it's a new layout, so maybe it'll throw him for a loop, but I don't think so. So
Chat is going
13.
SVG. SVG's in 13, right? Or is that AJ? Because I see mostly 13s
I'm
and
gonna check the entry
SVGs.
list because I don't remember who's who.
Yeah, double check to make sure. I think SVG's in the 13, because if that's the case, then it's unanimous almost that they're picking
Wait a second, getting
Gisbergen.
there.
Van
The
Gisbergen.
13 is SVG.
All right,
all right,
take it, chat. That's
put him
fine.
down. That's a good pick.
I'm gonna go with a wild one. This one might be a little wild. I think Ross Chastain's gonna win. He's been really good lately. Good road racer.
You were the one that
Actually
called
looked it up.
Ross to win at Coda a couple of years ago.
That's true. I've had good luck with Ross at road courses. I looked this up earlier. He has the best average running position on road courses this year, I believe, excluding Chicago.
And
Sounds kind of unusual.
And hey, that particular Dakota race, it was Chastain who won. Arguably, probably would have been Alex Bowman had he not received a punt from Ross to AJ and then into him.
Hey, to be fair, we had a colleague car up there. We had the 48, and we had Ross up there. So the odd one out and Bell was, I think, actually charging at the end of that one too. So you can draw the parallels. It's like poetry. It rhymes.
I'm going for Christopher Bell to do the thing again and be like, I wasn't part of your story, was I?
Catchphrase. Well, that was fun. We got the final super chat stage break. Is that all that's left?
Yeah.
Yep. So we last left off with 100X and fishing. So we're gonna pick up with reset a little bit. Mikey Hyde, appreciate $1.99. Once again, told us earlier that he won the Mullet Talladega contest. Mullet Mike.
Nice.
Hashtag Mullet Mike.
Congratulations, Mullet Mike. GN NASCAR fan 24, appreciate the $5. As someone on the Disney college program, Eric, what was your experience of hurricanes? His shift ended at 2:30 p.m. today, and all the parks are closed tomorrow. A lot of rain and wind.
Yeah, I replied to his comment earlier. I don't think I went through any hurricanes that forced the parks to close when I was there. When I was there, anytime there's a hurricane, usually the crowds are really low for a couple days, so it's kind of nice if you're working or hanging out there. But yeah, just hope. I saw you post in the chat that he has a good number of snacks and water and supplies, so should be stocked up good. Just stay safe, take it easy for a day or two, and if he has to drive to work, I guess just drive slow. Keep your eyes on the road. Watch out for big puddles. Turn around, don't drown. You know the classic phrase. I don't know where he's from. I don't know if GN NASCAR fan is from Florida and is used to Florida roads or what, but yeah, that's all.
Yeah, I
Stay
do.
safe.
I do know another person who watches our show. He works with the trains at Walt Disney World, and he was telling me that a lot of the staff are being allowed to stay in resorts there at Disney. So that's
Nice.
At least nice. They've kind of got everyone in a collective area and with their families, I'm assuming. So that's kind of good to see. But definitely stay safe down there. Bailey Riker, appreciate the $1.99. Herbst is an underrated road course racer. I would agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with that. He's going to need to be just to make sure he stays safe. Where was he at again? He was 20 points to the good, so fairly good. But anything could go wrong at a road course race this weekend too. So he's going to need to be that underrated road course racer this weekend and make sure he doesn't go away because he's 7th right now in the standings. So good luck, Herbst. Nas Carson, 2414. Appreciate the $9.99. Hey, NWP guys, Talladega. I didn't watch any with nice weather. Didn't watch any.
Probably there was nice weather there, so they didn't watch it.
Oh, okay.
I
Dang.
think.
Tough.
Just because they
Trucks.
were outside.
Imagine going outside and touching grass. Couldn't be me. That
That,
sounds
that reminds me of
terrible.
last night. That was exactly a Danny when we left the cafe. What
I,
Riz said.
I told Jarrett, I think I said it's like it's good to see you out of the box. And then his fiance looks at him and says, "Touch grass."
She ain't
And I
wrong.
pointed at the lake beside us and said, "Touch lake."
I almost ran like that meme in Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. The officer was just like Tom Cruise running.
Trucks, Infinger, shocks Dega again. Xfinity, wrong Smith won again. Tame race compared to Cup.
Cup was pretty tame until
Till it
5
wasn't.
to go.
Yep. Red Dog 81, appreciate $10. I just saw my Mets win live to clinch the NLDS, and I still had to come in here to mock Kyle Busch's last lap move. Call me a King Richard fan and press F for Kyle Busch because I'm a petty, petty man.
He is a certified Kyle Busch hater. Took time out of his
This is
epic baseball celebration to dunk on Kyle
generational hating
Busch.
here.
Wow. That's he deserves a trophy for that. That's
So
dedication.
congratulations to the Mets. I'm not much of a baseball fan, but I know how bad it's been for them for a little while.
I know they've been sort of spinning their gears, spinning their wheels for a while. Good for the Mets. I'm just anyone but the Yankees, Dodgers. Sorry, Yankees and Dodgers fans. I just anybody else, please.
Oh, ignore the Dodgers hat and Dodgers bobblehead. I just went to a game and got that stuff.
That's
Oh,
great. I'm
coach
glad
you.
you gave them money. I'm not glad he gave them money.
Well, I gave Lids money for the hat, and the bobblehead was given to us free. But I guess I went to a game, bought a dog. So,
Was it a dollar hot dog at least? Did you get a good deal?
oh no, it was not $1.
No, it was full price. Damn it.
Yeah, it
That's
was
how they
not-
can afford to
not cheap.
buy all these free agents.
Give me Martinsville hot dog any day. That was not that great of a hot dog in all honesty. Let's see here. NASCAR since 24-14, purchased the 499. Dega Cup, 4 wide. You're kidding, right? Biggest wreck. Joke, right? Winner won with damage and terrible red flag calls.
Yeah.
Antar Das, appreciate it, 499. Eric, I'll be in Fort Worth in March. Where should I go other than Buc-ee's? Also, I'm a pre-law student, grinning evilly, wanting NASCAR to open their books.
That's funny.
I'll let Eric give his answer, but definitely in and out.
You've
So,
probably spent did you say in and out?
I mean, I don't have it around me. If you're going to Fort Worth, get it.
What the hell? Danny's gone full Los Angeles on me in the last 3 minutes. This is inexcusable. Sure, In-N-Out Burger's good,
Hey,
but if you're going to
it was
Fort Worth,
better in Texas than it was in California. I'm just saying that.
interesting.
Well,
Huh.
Texas is better in California.
Well, I haven't spent that much time in Fort Worth, so actually Danny's probably more qualified. He's been there more recently than I have. Last time I was there was for a concert, and I ate this good taco place. I think it was called Taco Heads. It was kind of fun, outdoorsy vibe. Hopefully the weather's good. Rustic taco place. You're in Texas, tacos are usually good. Other than that, I hear the stockyards are cool. I went once a long time ago. It's very stereotypical Texas, but kind of fun for tourists. Outside of the racetrack, I haven't spent a whole lot of time in Fort Worth, but I hope you have fun. Welcome to Texas. Have a good time. Stay cool.
Antar Das, appreciate another 499 coming from you. I called Connor Zilish a GOAT level potential talent. You guys told me to pump the brakes. Am I okay to step on the gas again? Lightly press the gas. Don't floor it because he's still got a long
Happy.
career.
Be happy, but it's a long way to go. Like,
Yeah, generational
That's-
all time. I mean, that's Jeff Gordon
The-
won like double-digit races his like second,
The-
third, fourth years in the
the
Cup
like,
problem
Series.
is
Like,
that
probably
gets thrown
thought this
around. That term gets thrown around way too much. Generational talent, the best talent since Jeff Gordon, Dale, or like, let's just let the kid do
Like,
his thing. He's good.
We
He's really
fought
good.
this. We fought this when we saw Ty Gibbs starting to dominate the Xfinity Series, and yet here we are now where he is in the Cup Series, and it's like, okay,
Give him time.
let off the throttle, you know.
Yeah, let's give
I-
him time. He'll
I
be
think
good.
he's going to be great, but I think as long as this car and rules package is in place, it's going to be very difficult for anyone to truly set themselves
Yeah.
apart and be
Exactly.
generational. Like 5 wins a year might be peak, and like that's great, but you're not going to look at those numbers and say, oh, he's Jeff Gordon. Like
you're not going to have a 10 win
so.
season like Larson or like Jimmy Johnson or Gordon Earnhardt like that. And that's not even the driver's fault.
No, it's a combination of factors, but he is very good. Like he's one of the best. Yeah. He's probably top 5 prospect I've seen since we've been doing this show.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's steep because we saw who's come up since we started doing this show?
I mean, it was William Byron's first year, and he was a good prospect for a while, but it took him a while to get in.
We were doing the show and we saw Chase Briscoe and Austin Cindric go from jokes in the 60 to becoming legit Xfinity Series champions / contenders.
Good point. But see, I would say Zilich is probably a slightly hotter prospect than both of them.
Yeah, I would say so.
We saw Gregson come through the ranks. He's looked okay at times.
But he was never one like he was definitely one that people like overrated the talent. Like he was great, but people were like, I think people pumped the brakes a bit, and then he started turning it on. I mean, Gibbs is the one. Gibbs to me, it's kind of started this like wave of super young drivers that like since we started the show that have like caught everyone's eye.
Polar opposite of the spectrum, though, we've sort of grown up with Ross Chastain, his rise to the ranks into the Cup Series.
Would we count SVG as a prospect, or is he like a transplant?
He's a transfer. He entered the transfer portal.
he's a redshirt senior trying to get chasing one last natty.
But yeah, it's I would say Connor Zilish right now. Lay off the throttle, but I won't be shocked if he wins like 5 or 6 races next year and probably wins the championship. Yeah. But I could also see him winning like 2 races and not really being a factor.
I think in the same range though is Carson Guapel. I think he's one that a lot of people are gonna have to watch. He's gonna be pretty good. He's done really well in his limited time.
Yep. Yeah, JRM is gonna have a great team next year.
The biggest thing that's gonna stop those drivers next year is themselves and their inexperience. That's the only thing to me that I'm worried about with them. I think they have all the talent in the world to succeed. It's literally just gonna be, what they don't know. I'm excited though. I think Xfinity is gonna be really fun next year.
Moving on, Alex Yanez, appreciate the $2. I think this is going back to when we were all digging on Daniel Suarez. He says, bringing back OG YouTube. Leave Daniel alone.
Leave Daniel alone.
Leave Brittany alone.
Leave her alone.
Alex Yanez with another $2. But really, though, as a 99er, yikes, hoping for a top 2 run.
I said he could be really good at the Roval this weekend. I think that's possible. Don't count him out.
I've never heard that phrase for Daniel Suarez fan, the 99er.
I like that.
That's interesting.
That's a good one.
Yeah. Bailey Riker, appreciate the $4.99. Legacy Motor Club going multiple months without firing someone challenge. Impossible. Scrapyard 24C, appreciate the $5 from you. Let's say Chastain wins the race before Halloween. Do you think he'll smash a pumpkin instead of a watermelon for that? Ooh. It'd be interesting, but no, he's watermelon for life.
It'd be a fun one. That would stick out forever. Like
it would.
As long as you have him in the background, despite all my rage, I feel.
So let's see. The race before that would be.
You should carve like a watermelon. Right? Carve a watermelon into the pumpkin before smashing it.
I mean, I could see him winning Homestead, honestly. I could see that.
He likes rim riding. I could see it. Hey, that's another one. That's another one you do a drinking game of how many times they say the same damn thing. How many times is Jeff Burton going to say ripping the boards? He's the last 2 years. It's like they really never said that on a broadcast. Then one year they're like, hey, guys, what if we just said this so much that when our fans go to sleep at night, their dreams, they just hear us, I need ripping the boards. Like, I'm dreaming about winning the lottery. That's not even close, but okay.
This is actually a good one coming in here. BGWX Chasing, appreciate it, $9.99. Fun fact, I'm a huge weather nerd and storm chaser. Neither Daytona or Homestead will take significant impacts from this hurricane. I've seen many chats asking Daytona will see more, but nothing major. Yeah, it's up there in the northeast part of the state, and by the time it gets there, I think all reports say it's be like a Cat 1 or tropical storm by the time it would even get there.
They'll get some rain. They're probably already getting a lot of rain, but I don't think they'll get the
I'd
storm
say that
surge or the damages that some of the other places are getting.
the biggest threat that Daytona probably had was earlier in the day when the tornadoes were popping up. That's about the only real threat I think that they were ever in up there. And then Homestead was just too far south to be having a big impact on this one. Corbin Rogers, appreciate it, 999. Alex Bowman is the Ryan Newman and Jamie McMurray of NASCAR today, always getting top tens or consistent finishes all the time, wins every now and then. What do y'all think? What do y'all think is he in that category?
He's better than them, I think. Personally, I think
Newman was
consistently he
pretty
runs
dang
better.
good, though. I will say that.
He's closer to Newman than McMurray, but he might have eclipsed both. I need to see a little more.
Because
But
McMurray, I put more of a Clint Boyer type, not a Newman
The
type.
thing with Newman is that his stats are so over amplified with the
They're
8
so
wins in
skewed
that
from the
one
early
year.
2000s.
Yeah, just 2003. I mean, like, how many wins does Newman have? Like 18, and like 8 of them came in 2003.
it's a good point.
To be fair, he did get a lot of what's the word?
Poles.
Crown Jewel races, a lot of poles. He got a lot of Crown Jewel wins though towards the latter part of his career.
Fair enough, yeah. The 2008 Daytona 500. Shout out to is it Vodi or Vadi who uploaded that one. I was thinking for a minute. I can't remember who it was. If it was like, I think it's like the Penske Fan 22, or it's like one of those YouTubers with a name like that, put out this thing. It was like slandering NASCAR YouTubers, and it's just a meme video, and like, it's pretty funny. Like, I'll say that. I think I was in it. I think Eric, you were in it, and I don't know, Danny, if you were in one. He's been making it a series of different ones. It's like covers of smaller ones. It's funny as hell. Like, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty funny. Just want to give that a shout out.
Yeah, send it to us sometime. Let's see here. Blue Jimmy 48 fan, appreciate $2 from you. It's not about the money, it's about the Mets, baby. The Mets.
It's not about the money. It's about sending a message.
That's funny. The Mets.
Alessandro Sebastian, appreciate the $5. So far in Cup, there are 18 different winners. Do you guys think we will see more additional non-playoff drivers win before the season ends, or no?
Truex, maybe. I predicted it earlier, so I guess I
Potentially an
gotta
AJ
stand by it.
Allmendinger or SVG this weekend.
Yeah, this is a big weekend for that. For an upset.
I saw this trend on Twitter, and we should have talked about it beforehand before this, but it's this trend of like, there's 18 winners this year, and that's not a good thing. And I'm like, we're really going to complain about everything? Don't get me wrong. I think it should be disparity. Again, maybe that might drive the winners down, but people are like acting like it was a next gen problem. And I'm like, literally every era has a season or 2 seasons like this, where there's this like 18, 19 winners. Like, it's not I don't think it's as big of a deal as people are making it out to be.
It's not a big deal, but I do think people were using it as a jumping off point to say, hey, the next gen is too equal. It's why they can't pass.
Yeah.
It's how we're not going to get super. Like, I think if you're just complaining that, there's too many winners, like, how is anyone supposed to stand out? And that's your only argument, then you're just complaining for complaining's sake. But if you're using it as a jumping off point to say, hey, there's flaws with the next gen that are going to prevent the growth of the sport, I could maybe get with you. This is not the week to have that discussion. There's so many other things we could talk about instead. Yeah, like a super speedway winner. Okay, yeah, those upsets are going to happen. But it is something to have in the back of your mind. It's not an invalid argument. It is just, but to your point, it's like it certainly screams NASCAR fans just complaining to complain.
But I'll argue on the other end of that, there are more super speedway and road course races that are prone to different winners that normally wouldn't win. So it's like the schedule has something to do with it too. Like, that's
a good point. That's fair, actually.
I think a better way to look at it is take out road courses and super speedways from before next gen and after, and like if there's a realistic comparison there, then we roll with it. But I saw someone saying it's like the 2000s with all the cookie cutters was not the right schedule for that time. Those cars needed more races on a variety of tracks, and it would have been great. And then, like, the ones that we have today is not good for the current schedule we have today. It's like NASCAR just could, like, they finally moved to where the fans wanted the schedule with like road courses and short tracks, and then we got a car that's not good at road courses and short tracks, but is good at the tracks they got rid of at 1.5 miles. It's just
always backwards.
you can't. I guess they could help that if they designed a better car for road courses and short tracks. So I can't say they can't help it, but just kind of funny how that worked out.
Yeah.
Got a few more here. Appreciate another $4.99 from Bailey Reichert. This is actually an interesting fun fact. I didn't think about it, but yeah, it's true. I reckon, because there have been a lot of people actually win in this car. Ross Chastain passed Jamie McMurray with the most wins in the one car ever when he won. 5 versus 4. Fun fact for you guys. Love all that you guys do.
Thank you. That is I did not realize
Like,
that.
I guess
5 wins is now the winningest driver in one car history, huh?
Steve Park only got a handful of them, and
Yeah.
not many people won in the one before.
How many wins did Truex get? Just one?
Just one.
Yeah, and I wouldn't know much about the years before that, but yeah, that's pretty crazy, actually.
That's crazy.
God, y'all can just read the latest super chat from Ferg. I don't feel like reading that one. Sorry, but thanks for the $2.
Thanks, Ferg.
You belong in the Talladega infield, man.
You're meant for the streets, Ferg.
You're meant for Talladega Boulevard.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's somebody that'd be good with that with you.
Huge Blaney and Sam Mayer fan for those listening. We'll just leave it at that. Fred Dog 81, appreciate the $5. Chastain could draw a spooky ghost chasing Hamlin's car on the watermelon.
I like it. You should theme it up.
Yeah, I agree with what people are saying. Ferg, bonk. Yeah, we're gonna bonk Ferg.
Beautiful.
But one last one. Gary Buki, appreciate $10. About the side-by-side commercials. I remember some of them because I'm actually watching. When it's full screen, I go do something else. Don't know why, but marketing people didn't discover this until recently.
I know this is anecdotal, but we've been on this for years, guys. We'll see. Hopefully there's more evidence to support it.
TNT and ESPN were doing this in the 2000s.
Why did they ever stop?
That's what I'm saying. This is not revolutionary. NBC and Fox should have been doing this.
It's such a simple thing to try. I'm glad NBC's trying it.
Yeah.
That's all I can say.
But that's all that I have. That's all the super chats we have. So until next week, we will be on, remember whose channel again? Sorry. You're both waving? Eric. We're going to be on Eric's channel.
And we'll have our special guest, Ellie Productions, on. So.
Yep. Going to be a fun time. Glad to be back this week. Glad to have y'all here on my channel. Make sure you subscribe to me and all the other ones here.
Before
if you haven't already.
Or we forget, because we keep forgetting to do this live. Who are your guys' picks this week for your teams? Because mine's on a bye, so we're good at 5-0 for another week.
Okay, I'll do college and pro.
Oh, okay. I was just doing pro. So Indianapolis at Tennessee and Houston at New England.
Titans are bad, but the Colts just lost to the Jaguars. I'm going to say Titans find a way to win. Also, I think Vols beat Florida.
Texans will win, although no Nico Collins for at least 4 weeks is painful. But Drake May's making his debut. I think will swarm and overwhelm him. So Texans win. Red River rivalry Saturday afternoon, State Fair of Texas, UT versus
that's a tough
Oklahoma.
one for you, being a Texas grad.
I'm a Texas grad. Lady downstairs is a massive Oklahoma fan, was in the marching band. It's fun. We're going to, at her old high school, the UT marching band is doing some sort of showcase. We're going to go see that. And then somewhere else, the OU marching band is doing a showcase. We're also going to go see that. So we've got our bases covered. Very well-rounded household here. Massive rivalry game that unfortunately for her is likely going to be dominated by Texas this year. Oklahoma's offense with a backup quarterback is kind of a mess, but hopefully they keep it close.
And
I'm
NFL
rooting for the
wise,
Sooners though, because I want Texas to join the losers club too.
Hey, I'm rooting for Oklahoma too, because if she's happy, I'm happy. Remember that,
go.
gentlemen.
I'll say this, NFL wise, I don't care enough about college to make a prediction. I think Houston wins 30-10. I think Indianapolis beats the Colts 2017.
I don't think the Texans have scored 30 points all year.
I know they didn't in week 2 or 3. 3 they didn't.
They're lucky to score it all in that game.
You got a gift.
All right, good show tonight, folks.
A lot of fun. Bye-bye.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye-bye now. Goodbye.
I agree with Mikey Hyde. The real UT is Tennessee. Smart man in chat. Okay, bye.
Okay, I won't go that far.
I don't care.
I'll let it slide because it's Danny's channel, but come on.
I do care.
Ready.